All right. I will call the work session of the village board to order at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. I would ask Kelly to note roll call. I would also like to announce that Tashidra will be joining us by Zoom. And we just heard from Jan, and she'll be here for the regular meeting, but not for the work session. So we will see her as soon as she can. I think most of the announcements are at the next meeting, but let me also note that that clock is horribly wrong. And I will announce it at the next meeting, but it could throw the audience off. So just so you know, it is going to be a problem later, but won't bother us. Oh, you know how to fix it? Huh? Maybe. So I think the clock, we will talk about Zoom during the next meeting. Tashidra's there. I don't know who JC is, but I think we have everyone from the board who we were kind of waiting for. I am also wanting you all to know that we have a little bit of a lighter, hopefully, work session, and then we'll take a break and we'll go on to our board meeting. And so take a break. You'll need it possibly, and then we'll come back together in time for the board meeting. So with that, do you have anything else for the work session? Okay, most of our announcements are going to be for the next meeting, so I think we're pretty good. I'm looking at Callie. Yep, okay. With that, I would ask for the presentation by University, I said it, Alliance regarding Mountain Bike Park. This has been a long time coming, so I look forward to it. I don't know if it's Judd and Reese.
Judd, Reese, Greg, I'll kind of run with it for now. Lola Lee, who did this part of this, was supposed to be joining us, and I don't know that she's on yet. So, but we'll get started. So there's two University Alliance projects that we're working on with university students. One is with Lola Lee, and where she's doing kind of a communications booklet for us and best ways we can communicate this to our residents for the things that we're looking to do for the mountain bike park. If you're unaware, if I can get there fast enough, there's 16 acres of land down by Sunfish Pond, just to the east, that we've acquired that has two higher points that is ideal for a mountain biking scenario. So we'll be looking to build a mountain bike park there. And so the second group that we're working with for the University Alliance, they weren't scheduled to be here tonight. They're working on what are areas in that area that we could work with, and what are areas we should avoid to work with, and what impacts there may be to any wildlife that's in that area. And they're kind of building that formulaic plan for us. And so they should be here in December, representing their findings, either the first or the second meeting. I'm not sure when they're going to do that. So just check to see if Lola's joined us yet. She's not. Okay. So with Lola and her communications thing that we worked on, we put out a survey that was available on engagedforest.com under mountain biking, and we collected over 250 survey results in less than 2 weeks. So it way outkicked what we did with the Park and Connect, which is unfortunate because we did so much work with Park and Connect and outreach and involvement in parks, and we had just about 150-ish respondents. So with this one, we had 250 people responding. So she's put together this booklet, and it's Your Path to Community Adventure. DeForest is a community built around nature. Now we imagine new ways to explore it on two wheels. Together we'll design trails that inspire adventure, connect people with nature, and strengthen our community. The new trail project aims to create scenic, and eco-friendly routes for riders of all ages. Some facts: proposed areas, newly acquired parkland, that's the 16 acres I discussed. Estimated development would start maybe next year and in 2027, so there'll be some planning and whatnot. and it's focused on sustainability and accessibility. So DeForest new mountain biking vision is shaping new mountain bike trails and recently acquired parkland, opening more ways to ride for residents and visitors. This started in 2022 by the Mountain Bike Ad Hoc Group, where we've gotten to this point, right? It came forward to the board before that, but this is where we've gotten to this part. The project is guided by public input and ongoing design work. Each trail will reflect the forest's natural character, welcoming all skill levels while caring for sensitive habitats. So here's where we get into the nuts and bolts of what we heard from the community. The question was like, you have any awareness of existing trails? 70% said no, 20% yes, and about 10%, 9% said they're unsure. Park and trail usage frequency, over 80% of respondents use parks weekly or more, highlighting a community already engaged with our outdoor spaces, right? So our parks are things we often hear about. You all hear about them, right? I hear about them from folks in the community as well, that they absolutely love our parks and our trail system, and they want to see those things expanded. There's a strong interest, very interested in a new eco-friendly trail system. 83% of respondents, so 310, said they were very interested. So they're very supportive of creating an official sustainable mountain biking trail in DeForest. This strong enthusiasm highlights both community readiness and the importance of thoughtful, eco-conscious planning. So the top features would encourage residents to use a new mountain bike trail or scenic routes. Safe design, family-friendly options, accessibility, educational signage, and others. So the one thing that we'll really have to do is educate the public on these mountain bike trails and what they're designed for. They're designed for mountain bikers, but they'll also be designed for walkers, pedestrians to go in the opposite direction. So if mountain biking is going, say, counterclockwise, the walkers would go clockwise on that trail. So both can kind of share that. The walkers can see those bikes coming, the bikes can see walkers, and make that connection. So we'll have some educational signage that will be a component of this. What they expect from a new trail over and above was wellness or recreation, followed closely by health and wellness. Most respondents see the trail as a space for recreation, wellness, plus youth engagement, right? So there's that hard to plan for program for youth that are tweens and teenagers. This will hopefully engage quite a bit of them, right? The mountain biking group at this high school has been growing by leaps and bounds. Community concerns and priorities. Overall, 57% had no concerns at all with this mountain bike park moving forward in the spot they are. The next biggest thing was unauthorized trail use by 24%, and 23% really close behind is environmental impact, which kind of lands back to that start where we said we're going to plan this, we're doing it in an environmental way, and making sure that it's also being used for the intended purpose and not for other reasons. And this is where we'll probably start to have some links that will go to what that other university alliance group is working on for us, as far as the manual that says here's the areas by which we might want to avoid, or here's the areas we can build those trails in. So this booklet is got some additional things to do, but this is what she's worked on thus far. So so how important is it to manage unauthorized trail use? Overall, 40% was somewhat important. 32% said not important, and then 27% very important. So the community values balanced oversight and emphasizing collaboration over restriction. And then preferred ways residents would like to receive project updates: social media, village website, school newsletter, community meetings, and flyers. So the overall is our social media that Stacy does a terrific job on being communications for us, as well as our website and school and the newsletter that we put out. But they prefer quick, accessible digital updates, especially through media and village website. And of the 300 plus respondents we had, over 80 respondents shared their email address, wanting to be contacted about helping us when we start to build the park, that they would lend a hand in doing those things. So it's exciting to see that. We're excited to move forward collaboratively. We'll use the insights to ensure the new trail reflects community values, safety, and environmental care. And we thank those respondents for helping shape the forest future. So this booklet she's put together is at these 11 pages now. I don't know how much bigger it'll get, but there'll be those links to that other University Alliance component and things that Lola's still working on. Did Lola end up joining in? Okay. So questions, thoughts, concerns, things we might have overlooked that you want to have us have Lola dig into?
Let me start by, Tashidra has a question. She has her hand up.
It's not a question. It just lets you put your hand up or down. Judd, I just wanted to say thank you to you and Lola. This is amazing, and the information and the community feedback is incredible. This has been a long time coming with this project, and I'm super excited to see it move forward and give individuals in the community more options of recreational activity and getting out of the house. So thank you.
Others? Yes, Jim.
So I'm curious of a couple definitions. You talked about an eco-friendly trails was highly sought after, and I'm wondering what that is. Is that specific to mountain biking or is that trails in general?
The survey was about mountain biking, so I assume those respondents were talking about the mountain bike trail itself being as eco-friendly as it can be.
And the other clarification, sorry, I don't have it right in front of me, was unsomething trail use, unauthorized, I think was maybe
Unauthorized trail use, yeah.
what that means.
It might have been more in relation to previously there were unauthorized trails that were built in the community, right? And, you know, that we are making sure that those aren't happening. And I think by providing, an actual mountain bike facility, that's less likely to happen. Those students, those kids, whatever, you know, the people who did that previously are probably not likely to do it since we now have an amenity that would offer that, or will have an amenity that will offer that.
That's a good point. I guess I do remember now that when we were talking about that, if the trails are like muddy or something, we didn't want them to be used. So I guess it still could be applicable.
There's that point too, right? So those are things that we'll have to do is monitor. When the park is done and completed, we'll be closing it, right? We'll probably follow very closely with what Dane County does. So they've got a mountain bike trail, Camrock, they've got a couple of them. But Camrock is probably pretty similar to what we have, where it's right along the Koshkonong River, right? So trails and rivers can coexist together. It's done there, but they close those when it's too muddy or it's, you know, you don't want to rut up the trail, right? So the idea is if it's not passable, we'll be making sure we're closing the trail, and that's where we might have to have some additional monitors to make sure that it's not being used during those times.
Thank you.
Has there been any interaction with the mountain bike club that has had the trail out by, on the other side of the interstate?
That's a BMX, that's different.
Okay,
So BMX is very much a set course and they're going for speed. And
Okay.
not so much like, it's not really terrain. I mean, there's hills and things, but no, that's
yep.
two different things.
I just wanted to make that clarification because this is not going to be competitive racing like they've had out at that track.
It's different competitive racing, right? So mountain bike, there is a component to competition on a mountain bike thing. I don't think they're going to be hosting events here. It'll just be a skills-based kind of a mountain bike course that, I mean, it's not going to be big enough to host any kind of big events. It's more just for working on skills or for people who just want to do it. And probably, I would guesstimate we'll probably get 2 miles of trail within those two sections because they can be pretty close together and weave back and forth. So
And the parking will be at Sunfish Pond.
we would eventually like to probably ask the board for us to get authorized to go for some grant dollars with Knowles Nelson Stewardship. They're bigger dollars. We use that a lot for the Upper Yard River Trail. We received, I think, $2 million, $3 million in grants for them for that trail. So there'll have to be some boardwalk access that we'll want to put between the two knolls as well as then from the current trail, right, the paved asphalt trail, and then out towards on Windsor Road. There's right after you get over the river. There's a space there that's we could maybe put a small parking lot in there. Ideally, most people should be coming via bike, and they could park at Sunfish Pond and bike over it, and wouldn't be very far. But we'd want to have a couple connections to that asphalt trail for people to get there.
A great location for a lot of the kids in town. And I mean, takes a little bit of effort, but you can even get here from Bear Tree or can you get here from Savannah without?
Yep. So there's at the lights that cross 19, there's pedestrian crossing buttons. I've used them. They work great. They stop traffic for the time till you get to the respite, and then you push that button, it'll stop it on the other side and get you across. So kids could bike. There's a trail system all the way up Peterson Crossing. Windsor has mostly trail going along Windsor Road they could take. Or there's on-street trails there through Windsor, I believe, as well. So there's ways for even our kids down south to get there.
Okay, great to know. Well, this is exciting to me. As you know, we were really concerned about this and you guys have done a great job. So thank you for taking it on. Do you have more to add? Do you want to just go into the next presentation or?
I don't have another presentation. That other group for the University Alliance with the mountain bike, they're not prepared. They're still in the process of gathering information, and the document they're going to put together, I'm guessing, is going to be 20, 30 plus pages. They shared a similar one that they did for a different, not for mountain biking, but for this teacher, the professor of that class had a project that a previous group had done on ecological land use and things like that. So they'll be here in December. I'm not sure if it's the first meeting or the second one that they'll be here to present their findings. So.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anything else on this? Other than good job, guys. It's a lot of work. And it's been 2 years, 3 years in the making. So I'm glad that we're finally at that point. Okay, if there's nothing else for Judd and Reese on this and Greg, we will move on to our updates and start that process. Just to note, it is cold. I'm cold at home all the time too, so don't worry about it. We'll move into our department updates then. Administration, Bill.
Yeah, I received a notice today earlier in the morning. You may have seen it also as part of release on the news in the Sun Prairie Star that QTS intends to hold a series of public information meetings. The first one being Thursday, November 6th. There will be two opportunities, one at between 12 and 1 p.m. That is virtual only, and you do need to pre-register for that meeting. And then the second one is on the same day at 5 to 7 p.m. That's at the Wisconsin Laborers Apprentice and Training Center at Leona Way, Suite 100 here in DeForest. These are a series of meetings hosted by QTS, not the village. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. We have not yet received the application or the annexation petition. We have received a notice of intent to circulate the petition. So again, wanted to make that clear. If you need any more information on those meetings, let me know and I can forward that information to you. Well, I'll forward it to you either way.
Great, thank you. Anything else? Yes, Jim.
I regret that I'm gonna be out of town to attend either one of those, but do you happen to know if they're gonna be recorded?
I don't know if they're going to be recorded. I believe they're intended to be kind of an open house format, so I doubt that they're going to be recorded. I do know they are working to try to schedule additional meetings thereafter, and I can let you know if those meetings do get scheduled.
And is one of these Zoom check-in?
It's a webinar type. So there's in the email that I will send you, will have a link to that.
And that'll be online. So I'm just saying that one is probably more accessible. All right, finance update, Carol. Carol left.
There's no financial update. We do have a public hearing at the next village board meeting on the 18th.
Okay,
And so we'll be prepared for that, and we will be asking, following that public hearing, that the village board adopt the proposed budget for next year.
all right, thank you. Police department update. He is, and they will be here at our next meeting. But I guess we're good to go. Public services update, Judd?
I'll give the update tonight. So we've got, the leaf vac truck is out, street sweepers out, picking up leaves and, they're starting to come down big time. So getting those picked up. Highway V is ongoing. We got curb and gutter, installed today. Tomorrow, late afternoon, we're hoping to put the binder asphalt down, first layer. And then, Thursday, finish the surface. And then Monday, we'll do the center line markings. Or I should say probably gonna be Tuesday. So we have to put the shoulders in first. So hopefully not by the end of next week, we'll hopefully be able to open that roadway fully up and be done with it. Hopefully. And then we'll move on to South Street because we still have 2 sections of South Street yet to finish. We're kind of waiting for CV to open back up because otherwise it'll be a long ways around for people from innovation. So once that opens, we're gonna hit South Street really hard. And then last Saturday, the 25th, we had Trout Unlimited. We had a volunteer date. They came out, had 57 volunteers from Trout Unlimited and Cub Scouts Troop 104 came out and helped. Great time. We got a lot done. So we're south of Innovation Drive near Prairie Fire Court where we took out honeysuckle and buckthorn, stuff like that. If you walk down there, you'll see huge piles. This winter we'll take them apart and burn smaller piles, but that'll get burned this winter. It probably saved us over $2,000 from having a contractor do all that work. So
Wonderful.
we worked from 9 a.m. to noon. So we got a lot done. And then they did give us our donation of $17,000 to our Yahara River Stream Bank project. So yeah, that's our update.
Lovely. Questions? That's exciting. I've got it clear so I can see. I like seeing your picture, Tashidra. Very nice.
That's not my picture.
Which
That's
you,
my
I
face.
just looked down and there you were. All right, we'll move on then to community development update.
Just a couple things, some really exciting activity on the business front. On Friday, Lake City Glass had their grand opening. Their facility in the business park is now open and running, and they're already talking about their future expansion activities in the not too distant future. So that was exciting to get a tour of that and see the work that they do. Consolidating their headquarters to the community was fun to see. And then this afternoon, Quick Trip, their distribution center, had their grand opening, which was incredibly well attended, and they had some tours through their facility. Beautiful facility. Really fortunate to have them in the community. Obviously, a great partner, and I think that was on full display this afternoon. Last update is the DeForest Windsor Chamber of Commerce did officially announce the hire for their new executive director, who's Luke Justman. I believe that article was in the newspaper last week. So his official start date is November 17th. At some point, I'd like to get him here to talk with you all at a board meeting. But I think he's going to be a really good fit.
Thank you. It was a very nice event. So both of them were. Administrative services, Callie. I will say though that Callie's been extraordinarily busy. And so thank you. Recreation and community enrichment update, Reese. I love that program. Name.
Yeah, so I'll start with a few quick updates and kick it back over to Reese. One of the updates is that last week and this week I kind of started our coaches meetings with travel basketball teams. So got some of those underway, and then they're going to be starting with practices next week for all the travel teams. Our registration deadline for all the in-house is still like 2 weeks out, but the programs have already filled. So I will be doing the back end work of getting coaches and getting that all wrapped up and organized so that we can get that program started after the new year.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, oh, sorry, I got a few more things to add. We did, the Village of DeForest won a couple Best of Windsor and DeForest. I don't know if you all saw, so we took first place for Best Community Event, which was 4th of July. We also took second place for the Dragon Arts Fair and third place for our farmers market. So we got a clean sweep of that category. We also won Best for Customer Service. So that's widely attributed, I think, to Callie's team and all of us here, but they're the kind of the front runners who take the first stab at, well, not hopefully stab, but first go at people, yeah, handling of people. Trisha has been working on events for next year already. One of the things that we are looking at doing for the 4th of July is actually judging the parade. So I know that that was a thing that was brought up at our presentation. So kind of looking to see just maybe a show of hands if any of the trustees might be interested and around to judge floats for the parade. If you are, we can reach out. If not, we can look elsewhere to try to find judge. So anyone interested? Okay. I can reach out and we can find some other people too. If you are interested, you can always reach out to me or Trisha after. And then finally, another award that is coming is Sam was nominated for the Wisconsin Parks and Recreation Emerging Professional and actually was selected to be the recipient this next year. So
Congratulations.
yep. Yeah. So Sam does a lot of good work for us, but also does a lot of good work for our association, and will be awarded that in our February conference.
Great. Is it as much fun as the TV program says it is? All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And now we move to the fire department and the EMS.
Hello, everybody. I'm glad I have 30 minutes to speak tonight, and I will use it all. First, I would say we were nominated for no awards and won 0. We also had a clean sweep. So just a few quick notes. We're ahead of the fire board. So some of this is really at the 40,000 feet level, but the station is coming along. We will have a set of drawings for probably the next time I see you, almost completely finalized. Right now, we have some good conceptual drawings put together. We're already starting to weed out flooring costs and saved about $180,000 just on the type of flooring from what the designer wanted to put in versus what we want to put in. So we're knocking those things out. We're stressing energy efficiency is a big one for us. As well, some of you may know, it costs a fortune to heat the fire station now. Being built in '97, the doors and the systems just are no longer efficient. So that's a big push for our new station, is to be sure every time we open the doors to go out on a call, we don't lose every ounce of heat from the building and then have to fire back up to get it back up to temperature. So a lot of focus on that. As far as call volume, the Village of DeForest went up 4.4% on its own. Overall, the district is up 6.39%. We are, for our fire call volume, actual fires, we're up almost 29% this year, which is a little troubling. And unfortunately, it's not kids, it's adults making poor decisions, and it really has been going south on them. We did lose an apartment on Valeria Drive, but we were able to, from page to extinguishment, was right around that 10-minute mark. So the damage was limited to the apartment of origin. Budget's coming along good in 25. Looking to be under budget in most areas. Staffing numbers, we are up to 70 total members on the department now. A huge number of those are part-time EMS folks that we've been pulling from the UW. So we usually get them 3 to 4 years and they go on to bigger and better things, but we're able to staff 2 ambulances 24/7, 365. So that's a good number for us. Our 26 budget is waiting fire board approval, which will be hopefully tomorrow. I don't see any concerns, so. Outside of that, everything is good.
And you're to be congratulated. Getting our budget back in line was no small feat and you did a really good job. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, we, at the sacrifice of some vacation time, we got things squared back away, but that was a fairly significant problem. Changing companies helped quite a bit with that,
Good,
so.
good. Thank you. Questions for any of our reports or for the fire department? If not, we are in pretty good order. And we're going to have a significant time between meetings. So that's unusual. Jim?
I could provide a bit of an update. I'll say it's a tag on to Greg's. I know the Friends of the Yahara River helped some with the, say, the Trouts Unlimited and cleaning. So I'll use that as a pitch that on December 9th, they're also having a holiday party and we're all invited to
Oh, you
it.
stole my thunder.
Oh, okay.
No, that's good. That's good. We'll announce it later too. That's a great thing. Thank you. All right. Is there anything else from any of the board members? All right. What we will do then is entertain a motion to adjourn unless there's anything else to come before us. All right.
Motion to adjourn.
We have motions to adjourn. Do we have a second? Second. All right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We will reconvene at 6 p.m. I'm all screwed up with time here. I've been looking at multiple clocks. And I would ask that people be on time to reconvene and be ready to go. Thank you. Call the village board meeting to order. We have a lot of guests tonight and I want to welcome you all here. I'm excited that people are interested in coming to the meeting and I'm assuming you're all going to come back next meeting for the budget. We will talk a little bit in a few minutes about how we're going to operate in public appearances. But until then, we're pretty strict here about no crosstalk in the audience, no clapping, no laughing, no cheering. This is a serious business meeting for the Village of DeForest, and we expect that we respect you and you respect that. So with that, I would ask Callie to note roll call. And I would note that Tashidra is online and joining us fully. And I would ask our newest member, who I want to welcome to the board, Brad Core, to lead us in the pledge. And he got us a new flag. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, as we move into announcements, a couple of things. Note the clock behind the young ladies over there is very seldom completely correct. So, you know, you can look at it, but it's not going to tell you exactly where we are all the time. But we have a clock on the bottom of the computer screen And that's kind of what we go by. Secondly, we're going to take item 7.1 out of order so that some of the people that are here from the police commission and from Jared Kaufner's family don't have to sit here forever. And then we will begin to talk about, I go into appearances, and we have a lot of people to appear on both the QTS issue and on the fluoride issue. So we will divide those comments up so that, you know, we have the fluoride stuff at one point and we have the QTS stuff first. We will then take the forms we have and call people in that order. If you're online, and we'll talk about that, it's going to be a little bit of difference. You're going to have to unmute to get us to unmute you in order to identify yourself. And you'll have a chance to change your name to match the name on your appearance form, so we know where you are and who you are. So we'll talk more about that when we get to that section, but we've had a problem with hackers, and we've had some rather obscene stuff on our screen once in a while. So we've had to shut down security tightly on our Zoom meetings. So just so you know that it's not our intent to cause you any trouble, but it's our intent to have a safe and clean meeting. With that, I will also note to the board, there were 2 invitations in your packet. One is a business-to-business event at Hometown Pharmacy on Thursday, November 13th from 6 to 8. Sort of interesting. People in the audience might be interested. They're going to talk about new identity for the store and a new way to do a pharmacy business. So I'm curious to see what it is. And then the Yahara, as Jim mentioned at the work session, Yahara River Headwaters is having their annual Christmas party, December 9th from 6:30 to 8. And at Roadside Grill, and that should be a fun event. And we invite board members and others to attend should you be interested. With that, did I get all of the early announcements? Okay, and again, to welcome Brad, who came in for his first meeting to an unusually large audience. So welcome, Brad. All right, so I would then like to move to the consent agenda. And well, there's nothing to separate, so I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further comment? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed signify by saying no. All right, we have approved the consent agenda, and with that, we're going to move to item 7.1. And this is a presentation to Jared Coffrin, a police officer with the DeForest Police Department. And Jared was recognized at the state legislature for his being a hero in his valor. And it was an exciting event. There's a resolution in our packet, and we will pass the resolution and then we will present it to him. So you will find resolution 2025-098 in your packet, and recognizing the extraordinary bravery and courage of a police officer, Jared Cochran of the DeForest Police Department. And it states, whereas on July 20th, police officer Jared Cochran and police officer Zachary Lippernick were dispatched to assist the Wisconsin State Patrol at a head-on crash on Interstate 90, 9439 westbound near DeForest. And whereas police officer Jared Coffrin was performing the duties of a field training officer and coaching police officer Bliffernick, and whereas officer arrived on the scene and located the crash and the striking vehicle engulfed in flames. And whereas Officer Coffrin placed himself in extreme danger in a dangerous situation as he approached the victim's vehicle to check for passengers inside the vehicle, and whereas Officer Coffrin was able to take control of a catastrophic scene and safely move civilians away from danger while remaining calm himself. And whereas Officer Coffrin displayed courage and commitment under pressure to use his patrol vehicle to push the occupied victim's vehicle to a safe location that facilitated emergency medical personnel access to the victim. And whereas the officer, Jared Coffrin, placed his personal safety at risk in an effort to save the life of another person. And whereas police officer Jared Coffrin was awarded the Silver Star for bravery by the DeForest Police Department for his actions on July 20th, 2025. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village of DeForest trustees hereby recognizes the exceptional work and great risk that was undertaken by police officer Jared Coffrin and extends gratitude for his dedication to duty and service to citizens in need. And be it therefore resolved that a copy of this resolution be presented to Officer Coffrin as a token of the esteem with which he is held by this village and residents of DeForest, adopted at this regular village meeting of the village board on the 4th day of November 25. So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Motion approved.
Second.
We have a motion and seconds. We had Colleen and, okay, Alicia. All right. So I gotta make sure I can see Tashida. So with that, I would ask all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We approved resolution 2025 in -098 this evening, and we will present that to Jared tonight. You didn't get any shorter this time. And there's a number of those, so they'll just, when they come up, they'll come up. Okay. Okay. With that, we're going to move to public appearances. I'm going to begin, as I indicated, with the QTS folks. We've gotten a stack of those, and then we'll go to the fluoride folks. So be patient. Your time will come. I also want to recognize that Senator Kieski joined us. Thank you, Sarah. And she is here. So we have, I think, a full meeting, and I encourage people to be patient. Stick to your 3 minutes. And the other thing I want to say is, if you're just repeating the same thing that 2 people said before you, feel free to stand up and say, I agree with what they just said, but we don't need, the same thing said over and over and over and over again. We do hear you, and we've gotten the emails, and we're glad to have you tell us you agree with that, but don't feel obligated because you've got 3 minutes to take 3 minutes. So with that, I'm also going to have Callie repeat any Zoom instructions in case I messed it up.
If you are on Zoom and wish to speak before the board, you will need to go to the village website and complete a public appearance form. Those forms are then emailed directly to me. And also please make sure that the name that you have on your Zoom is the same name that you are registering to speak on. So we are able to then allow you to unmute.
Okay? Did everybody on Zoom understand that? Oh. What's wrong with this world? All right, guys, we all have our moments. With that, then we're going to begin with the forms I got first. Did you say something? Okay. And I will begin with John Schmidnick of 717 West Mohawk Trail. Are you here, John? Okay. We'll give people time to come from the other room. Hey, John. Oh, you can come then. Okay. No. I appreciate that, John, and thanks for telling me. Okay. Okay. Sometimes I don't go as fast as people want me to, but I get a few less screw ups that way, so. All right. Then the next person is David Roth from 815 Shooting Star. Thank you. And when people come, you come up to the table as he's doing and make sure the mic is turned to green. And when you speak into the mic, you really need to pull it closely and kind of make love to it because it doesn't always pick up everyone's voice. So feel free to speak into the mic. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me? Okay. I'm not here to talk about the Dana Center, so if I need to, I'm here to talk about sanctioned organizations.
Okay, go ahead.
Thanks. So I'm Dave Roth. I represent the North Sea Thunder baseball team, who's been a sanctioned organization for the past 3 to 4 years. Recently, there have been some proposed changes to the sanctioned organization program. I'm happy to say that we've been working with the Parks Department and they've been very receptive to our feedback. I did write an email to all of the board members, which I believe you probably have received. Since that time, through discussions with the Parks Department, they have proposed to include a 2-year grace period for programs like ourselves, and I wanted to voice our strong support for that decision today. And really, when this discussion started, there were two concerns that we had. One was the potential increase in charges that our organization, which by the way is funded by the players' families only and not for profit, and a very small organization would have incurred. And so the 2-year grace period does help us in that respect. And so we are strongly in support of that. The only remaining challenge that we are a little bit concerned about is the scheduling priority, and that we will be decreased in terms of scheduling priority to be along the lines of a GRB, a for-profit organization that's not just community members. And so we would like a little bit of additional consideration in that particular area. I do have to say that Sam and Reese have been really great to work with through this process. And that our goal is really just for our organization to continue as we have been and support youth baseball in the area. And we're happy to have more organizations joining the Sanction Organization program. We think it'd be great for everybody. We just want to be able to still have access to the fields at a reasonable rate for our families. So thank you everyone for your consideration.
Thank you. All right, with that, we will move to we have, trying to make sure that we have the right people on the right side here. All right, all right. All right, all right. Okay, now we're back to the data center, I hope. All right, Jessica Hornung and Quinn Michelle. All right, thanks. Did everyone hear that she doesn't need to speak, she just wanted to register, and so did Quinn register against it. Correct. Thank you. Thank you, Jim. The next one is Beth Hornung.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Just state your name and address for the record.
My name is Beth Horning. My address is 401 Newcastle Way in Madison, Wisconsin. I want to thank you for this opportunity and thank you for serving your community. My daughter is Jessica Horning, son-in-law Quinn Mischler, and my 3 grandkids who live on Highway I. I've been a Dane County resident for almost 50 years. I'm a retired reading teacher and I volunteer once a week for the last 3 years at Yahara Elementary School for my oldest grandchild. I'm speaking in opposition to the proposed data center to be taking up 615 or 1,400 acres of the Arlington Prairie. I think it's a terrible idea. I drive down WIBU and DM several times a week to come and visit my daughter, son-in-law, and grandchildren. If you do any kind of research and you find the data centers that are already in existence, particularly in the Midwest, everyone who lives by them, communities have been in opposition to them. Their quality of life, their everything about them, a company out of whether it's Virginia, QTS, owned by Blackstone, they do not care about Wisconsin. They do not care about DeForest, Wisconsin. It's about money. If you look at the negative side, it far outweighs any money that they will throw at the community to try to get you to say yes. The amount of water, the amount of electricity, the amount of noise, the constant generators on the outside and the inside. They want the Midwest because they can pump in the cold air and then they don't have to pay for air conditioning to cool all of the equipment and the processors. There's no guarantee they won't ruin the water. It's in every single way, it would be a bad thing for the DeForest community. And you can have economic development, you can be a regional tech hub, you can improve your schools and your facilities and your infrastructure, and you do not need to say yes to the data center that QTS wants to force. Seems like ram down. And I know the data centers are trying their best to get all of these done before more and more information is made available about how terrible they are for the communities that they are found in. So I'm just strongly in opposition as a citizen, as a mother, as a taxpayer, as a grandmother, as a volunteer, as a community member. I just think it's negative all around. So I thank you for this hearing, and I hope you will really hear what the residents of DeForest and the surrounding communities feel about this.
Thank you. Hey, there'll be none of that. All right, I'm just sorting these by issues, so bear with me for a minute. Sarah Rip. Then give us your name and address for the record. Thank you.
My name is Sarah Rip. My address is 6890 State Road 113, and I reside in Dane, but also the town of Vienna. Good evening, board members of DeForest. I'm here tonight as a concerned resident of the town of Vienna. I have lived part of my childhood in DeForest before my family moved to Wanakee. I met my husband on his family farm in Dane, where we've lived together for nearly 20 years. I love our quaint little town, the beautiful landscape, and the abundant wildlife that frequents the wetlands along Highway V. For months now, there's been rumors of a data center buying up a farm to build. The farm became two big players and is now spiraled into about a dozen owners, though some of them are the same people, just with multiple entities. I know it is a landowner's right to sell their land to whomever they want, but they shouldn't be allowed to leave our village via an annexation request just because the community that they have called home for decades and generation no longer fits their bill. Because this pristine farmland is planned for agricultural use, according to the Comprehensive Plan of Vienna, the owners have decided to ask DeForest to annex it. Generally, DeForest doesn't share the same mission as Vienna in terms of agriculture land preservation. But I do want to bring to your attention, should you look at DeForest's map of future land use, that this exact swath of land is marked as agriculture. We agree on this. DeForest never planned for this area to be touched by a massive 1,135 acre data center campus. Once this farmland is marred with the buildings and asphalt, it will never be farmed again. By agreeing to this annexation, you're suggesting that the future of agriculture has no future in DeForest or Vienna, or what was. As a business owner of a trucking company, I can almost guarantee you that my company will be called on to help during this building process, to haul the dirt away, to bring the rocks in to fill, and finally the asphalt to create their driveways and parking lots and such. I'm here before you today begging you, please stop this before it starts. I'm asking you to take money out of my pocket, basically, and work for my employees. That is how strongly I feel against this. If I may ask for those in here that are opposed to this annexation to please raise your hand to show the board members.
You know, we're not doing
Sorry.
community participation here. This is your chance to speak.
I
Thank you.
apologize. I do urge for you to look around though at the volume of people here. Please listen to those that have elected you into those seats that you're in today. And lastly, listen to your neighbors like me, pleading for your help to stop this. Thank you tonight.
Thank you. I don't know if those in the other room heard me, but there's no clapping and there's no jeering and there's no raising hands and interaction. So I will stop the public appearances if that continues. Eugene Reardon. Yep, right there. And then if you'll tell us your name and your address and turn that on till the light turns green.
Eugene Reardon, 4785 Highway V, DeForest. I live in the ETZ, out by the Quick Trip on V, so not in the village. So I want to just go on record as our family opposes the data center. I'm a former data center manager. I kind of know how those things operate. And to the previous speaker's points, it's a rural community. We like Vienna being a rural farm community. Something of that size will change that. One thing I've noticed is the growth in the ETZ area in the last 3 years or so has been more than in the last 25 years. So I'm really here to talk about the annexation process. One of the things I'm noticing that these things are going up and I'm not getting a voice. I go to the Vienna town meetings and they say, you have to talk to DeForest. And in DeForest, we really don't have a voice because we're Vienna residents. So I'm hoping that I want to make this team aware that some people are being left without a voice. The Vienna residents were, I've been in my place for a long time. I think north of 20 years. Recently a Buc-ee's has got through. I definitely don't want that. I don't think our community needs it. I didn't have a way to even voice my opinion in that one. So as you guys go through these annexation processes, if you could find a way to help get more people, the local residents' voices heard, that would be appreciated. And that's really all I have. So, thank you.
Thank you. Rhonda Meinholz.
Rhonda Meinholz, 6964 County Road I, DeForest. My name is Rhonda Meinholz. I'm a 24-year resident of the town of Vienna. I'm here before you today requesting that you reject the recent application for annexation of roughly 1,200 acres of farmland from the town of Vienna for the data center proposed by QTS. Whether the land that this is being proposed on remains in the town of Vienna or is annexed into the village of DeForest, a building project such as this completely goes against everything that our former Vienna board members have worked so hard for over the past 40 years regarding the preservation of agriculture, and will completely change the rural character of our township forever, as it will literally hollow out the center of our township. Along with the fact that this does not come anywhere near close to fitting into the town of Vienna's comprehensive plan, it also does not appear to fit into the village's DeForest comprehensive plan. DeForest comprehensive plan shows a small portion of the property in question being a part of their urban reserve, with the rest categorized as agricultural preservation. Building a 1,200 acre data center on this property is the exact opposite of agricultural preservation, as you will be destroying 1,200 acres of some of the most productive farmland in the country. I understand that the money and promises being made by QTS are going to be really hard to pass up, but there are a lot of risks to take into consideration. We can argue all day long about what a project like this will do to our wildlife, our water quality, our energy costs, property values, etc. And I am most certain that QTS will have arguments against all of it. The bottom line is we will never really know the full scope of the damage this will do until it is already here. And at that point, there's literally nothing we will be able to do about it. QTS can wave all of the money around that they want, but the town of Vienna and the village of DeForest cannot be bought, period. No amount of money can replace what we have here. Please know that there is an entire community of people that are supporting this movement, not just those of us who are residents of the town of Vienna or the village of DeForest. Last week, I sat at my dining room table with residents from the town of Vienna, the town of Dane, the Village of DeForest, and the Village of Windsor to strategically plan how to attack this monster that has been thrown at us. And while we certainly have our work cut out for us when communities come together like this to support one another, it's really a beautiful thing, and we can move mountains. Based on discussions with the Village of DeForest residents over the past couple of weeks, there definitely seems to be concerns from residents that they do not feel listened to by their board members. Now is your opportunity to change that. My hope is that each of the board members put aside the money that is being thrown around and listen to the people who live here who are speaking loud and clear. It is your job to be a representative of the people. That is what we elected you to do. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Benjamin Opel.
I need to push the button. All right. Benjamin Opel, 6714 Patton Road, Town of Vienna. Good evening, board, everybody in the room. My name is Ben Opel, resident of the town of Vienna for 3 years now. I was in Wanakee for 2 before that, so short timer. However, I'm coming here after serving for 12 years active duty in the Marine Corps. Multiple combat deployments, son of a son of a son of a service member. A long time doing this kind of work, and I found my way here with my family for the specific reason of what a lot of these folks have said already. It is a quiet place. It is a beautiful place. It is a clean place. It is a safe place. We found neighbors who are often busy, but always kind, usually private, but always generous with their time, happy to have us as a part of their community, even when we weren't like them. I have the soft hands of somebody who plays with a keyboard all day, but these farmers, these workmen, these technicians, these construction workers, all these people, happy to have us around. Great folks, all right? That fact that we are able to have this here is due to things like this not happening, ever. Let's be very clear on that. And I bring it up because I'm a soft-handed techie. I know about this stuff. I've been working in tech since I started my career. Been working in IT ops and infrastructure and cyberspace operations and cybersecurity for 15 years. I know what data centers are about. As a matter of fact, I like them a lot. They're very useful. However, they have no business being here. And that's why I'm concerned as to why it's being looked at for this particular location. Who benefits from this? Well, lots of tax dollars for Madison and the county. Lots of jobs for a few years, and then maybe 200 to 300. And you are kidding yourself if you think those jobs are going around here. People around here don't work in tech. And if they want to, that's great, and I encourage it. However, this is not the source for those people. Not right now. They can claim they're going to fund all of the scholarships and training they want. I'll believe it when I see it in 10 years after they've already built. They claim renewable energy. 90% of renewable energy credits are not tied to new projects, so that's a load of bull honky. It's a low effort ESG checkbox that does nothing to help anyone, to be fair. Let's be honest. Zero water sounds great. Believe it when I see it in 10 years when it's done, when it's already happening. To keep it short, I'm going to finish my comments with this and an apology in advance to everyone on this board if you have already made the right decision. But if there is a single shred of integrity, respect for the community you represent, or simple backbone in this room, you will find a way to put this to a referendum. It is not your decision to make. It is too significant. And let it be known, if you don't find a way, your loyalty to the almighty dollar, to growth, and to Dane County over the well-being and desires of your constituents will be well and thoroughly known. Thank you.
All right. We'll move to Meredith Tunison. Okay, is she online? Okay. If she comes, let us know and we'll recall you. Hunnison. First name Meredith.
She's online.
Can we take the agenda down for now so we can see? Thank you. Okay, well, she lets us know, we will recall her.
Meredith, you will need to unmute on your end now.
Thank you
Oh,
so
okay.
much. I just did.
Okay,
My name is Meredith Tunison. I live at 1006 Valderrama Court in Wanakee. And as a resident of a neighboring village and a resident of Dane County, I just wanted to vehemently agree with everything that our co-county residents have already said in opposition to the data center. So I will yield my time.
thank you. Sam Mel.
Sam Mel, 5450 Cuba Valley Road. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Sam Mel, and I'm a 20-year-old lifelong resident of the town of Vienna and a proud 2024 graduate from DeForest. I live on my family's farm right here in this community. I'm here today because I care deeply about agriculture and the future of this town. The proposed QTS data center might sound like progress, but it's taking away something that can never be replaced, our farmland. Once that's gone, it is gone forever. Agriculture isn't just what I do, it's who I am. This year, I was honored to be selected as a Wisconsin State FFA officer, the first one from DeForest in over 40 years, representing over 27,000 future agriculturalists statewide and 1,042,245 in the nation, all while bringing DeForest to light. I took this role because my biggest passion is advocating for the next generation of farmers and agriculturalists who want to stay in this industry. In this role, I've traveled to Washington, D.C. to talk with legislators and served as a national FFA delegate, speaking with leaders about challenges facing agriculture, including issues just like this. After advocating on some of the biggest stages in the world, I realized I couldn't wait for someone else to speak up in my local community and that I needed to do it myself. On top of being a state officer, I have also represented DeForest on the Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection Youth Council Collegiate Farm Bureau State Discussion Meet, and by running the DeForest student section at Sports Game, just to name a few. After pouring my heart into this community and taking pride in where I'm from, it breaks my heart to see the values and way of life I've worked so hard to defend being put to risk by the very town that helped build them and raise me. I shouldn't have to stand here as a 20-year-old fighting for my own future, but I am, because if I don't, who will? When farmland disappears, it's my generation that loses the chance to come back home and to raise families here and to keep agriculture alive in both Vienna and DeForest. Agriculture is a $116.3 billion industry in Wisconsin, and it's towns like Vienna that make this possible. If we let QTS continue building, it won't be long before our rural community becomes indistinguishable from Madison. Agriculture isn't just about farming, it's a way of life. After my sister's accident a few years ago, the ag community stepped up in incredible ways, from helping on the farm to supporting my family's future. Each and every one of you contributed, whether you know it or not. And that's what makes this community so special. If Vienna becomes another city, that brotherhood too will be lost. So I ask you to think about the long-term impact of this decision, not just for today, but for tomorrow. Past the dollar signs and towards the future. The fate of agriculture and my generation is in your hands. Please give the youth of this community a chance to grow up in American agriculture, an industry like no other. Thank you for your time and listening to the next generation of this community.
Thank you. The next thing we'll do is hear from Kelly Mack.
Hello, board members, residents of DeForest, and concerned residents from surrounding areas. My name is Kelly Mack. I'm a resident of Windsor. I am also a certified auditor of IEI systems, IT security, privacy, and environmental systems. I have lived in this area around 45 years, less than some, more than others, but growing up in this community are some of the best times of my life. I believe as a parent, a resident of a surrounding community, the adults should do everything in our power to ensure future generations are safe, healthy, and are able to enjoy the same beauties of this area that I did. Why are you working so hard on destroying the farmland in this area? But why are so many people concerned from surrounding areas? One, energy. There's no hiding it. The evidence is out there. Power needed to support an AI data center is tremendous. Can the businesses, residents, and in this area manage power disruptions, non-consistent power supplies, brownouts, blackouts? As we know, power surges can cause damages to personal appliances and also increase the risk of fires. Water. I suggest you review the pain Cedar Rapids, Iowa is going through right now. During an inspection, they discovered 40 non-permitted water wells on the QTS data center site, while they were supposed to be using the approved water facilities through the city. Environmental and wildlife. Are you ready for the reputational backlash for any damages to the wetlands just a few miles away from this site? Are you ready for the noise and the light pollution? What good is planting some trees after you destroy 1,400 acres of viable farmland? There is a bald eagle that lives there, and conversations have already started with environmental impact groups. The words, "I remember when I could see the stars," is going to become a very common phrase that you're going to hear around DeForest. Experience. The largest site operated by QTS is only 105 acres. That is the biggest site that they operate today. What makes them think they have the knowledge and the skills to manage a site of this magnitude? Employment opportunities started with thousands. Now we're back down to hundreds, which is kind of, in my opinion, the high end from what I've seen during my audits. Most of these jobs are going to be security guards and janitorial staff. We can get those jobs anywhere. End of life plan. Once this organization leaves DeForest, what are you going to do with the land? It will never be farmable again. Money. This $15 million is a gift. I suggest that you become familiar with the 2023 Act 19 tax exemptions for qualified data centers. QTS must make this investment to become a qualified data center in order to be eligible for sales and use tax exemptions. Does DeForest and its residents have the money, the lawyers, and the time to fight Blackstone, majority owner of this organization? When this blows up, surrounding areas are going to come after DeForest, not QTS. This would be considered a nuisance to the surrounding areas when this blows up. The biggest thing I hope that we can all take away from this.
Thank you. You know, I know you're all hurrying to try and get through 3 minutes, but sometimes it gets hard to understand you when you hurry. So I encourage you to take your time, and you can always submit comments in writing, which I've gotten a lot of comments on both sides of the issue, which are very useful for us to have. So thank you. The next speaker is Kent Miller.
Good evening. My residence is in Madison, Wisconsin, but my business address is 4633 Lyuna Way in DeForest. My name is Kent Miller, and I am the president and business manager of the Wisconsin Laborers District Council. We are a union of over 9,200 skilled union laborers who build Wisconsin's critical infrastructure, including roads, bridges, energy infrastructure, commercial and industrial buildings. I'm here tonight to speak in support of the proposed data center campus in DeForest. This multi-billion-dollar development will create thousands of great-paying construction jobs for members of my union and other union building trades. Some opponents might chalk up these jobs as quote-unquote temporary, but that is just additional misinformation. Our members work project to project to put together to make a career, to support their families, and this project will result in years of work, not only for current members of my union, but also serve as a catalyst to create more opportunities for people wanting to work in the trades. Because of the scale and scope of this project, it will also result in members of our union working closer to home, where they'll be able to sleep in their own beds, attend their kids' school events, and participate in other community events with their families, creating a better work-life balance. This proposed data center is a significant and long-term investment that will contribute to DeForest's growth. This is similar to the long-term investment that my union made over 20 years ago when LiUNA Wisconsin built our apprenticeship and training center in DeForest off Highway 19 on LiUNA Way. Annually, we train over 3,000 LiUNA members that are coming from throughout Wisconsin who are progressing through their apprenticeship program or learning new skills to become the best trained and safest construction workforce throughout Wisconsin. While attending classes, our members spend money here in DeForest, which contributes to the local economy. We are proud to be partners with the Village of DeForest, and the proposed QTS data center will be another proud partner to help grow our community. I thank you for the time this evening and again want to reiterate our union's support for the proposed QTS data center. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Castigrow. Did I kill it?
Stanya, is that C-A-S-T-A-G-N-O?
Aha, I'm very sorry.
That's okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. So my name is Mike Castano. I live at 7797 Blue Stem. Nice to meet Brad and Alicia for the first time. They're, fluoride and now the data center. If you're superstitious, things come in threes. So what's next, right? Appreciate everybody's opinions here. Just to go on record, I'm opposed to the data center, but I understand there's going to be people on both sides. I totally understand what the past individual was saying about that. And I agree with, going to the town meeting at Vienna and listening to some of the folks there was really eye-opening for me and inspiring. And I just want to speak to a few things, try to avoid things that were brought up already. But one thing I do want to hit on is like how many people are opposed versus for it? Is there a good data point on that? Like if 9 out of 10 people are against it, should we really be doing it? I would question that. It seems like the vast majority are against it. I don't know if they are or they aren't, but that should be strongly considered. The electric costs, I worry about. I know the co-CEO of QTS went on record with Alliant Energy saying, we'll do our best to cover the electric costs so we don't get 60-70%, surcharges. That's something I don't want to see because essentially then you're privatizing gains and you're socializing losses, which I am vehemently opposed to. And then jobs, I do agree that there would be jobs during the construction phase. I don't really know about much after that. At the data centers, I know QTS from 2021 to 2025 went from 800 employees to 1,600 employees. So they gained 800 jobs over the course of headquarters and over 50 data centers. So if you spread that out, it doesn't seem like too many long-term. I also worry about, I'm curious about like, what's the, like, if you buy a car, what's your total cost of ownership? Well, what's the total cost of the data center? So if there's environmental impacts 5-6 years down the road, who pays for that? If they abandon the project, who pays for that? Like, is this all covered contractually speaking and making sure that these big companies, Blackstone, who's, by the way, done very well in their investment, when they invested and took QTS private in 2021, the valuation was estimated at 10 billion. In 4 years, it's gone up to 60 billion. That's just one investment. They were just touting that on CNBC the other day. So they're not hurting for cash, as we know. But I just want to make sure that things are done transparently, openly, in the interest of the public, and that we're operating with all the facts. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, I have some people who wanted to speak on both issues, so I'll call you during the next session. Is there anyone who I missed on the data center? Would you like to come forward? give your name and address for the record. Thank you for your patience.
Hi, my name is Trinity Albedale. My address is 615 DeForest Street, but I'm also representing Jets Farms LLC of Dane and Vienna. That address would be 57050 Oak Lane. My parents are also residents at that same address. So my only question is, if this land that is currently being proposed is annexed to DeForest, what happens to the land on the other side that is considered Dane and Vienna? Is that now considered DeForest as well? Do we have to pay for the roads, and what happens to my parents' well? They run a business out of there. They grow their own farm stuff and they pickle and preserve everything. So what happens to their business? What happens to their livelihood? My kids sitting right here, 2 of my 5 kids. I am 20 years old and have 5 children. Yes, I know, crazy. But they love going out to their grandparents' house because it's the only connection to the farm that they have left. What happens to my kids? Like, I was raised out there. My grandfather purchased that land when my stepdad was 2 years old. He is turning 47 in December. 45 years we've been out on that property. The owner of the land next door, who the Meinholzes were renting it from, used to let my stepdad drive his vehicles around. That's where I learned how to drive, where my kids are supposed to be learning how to drive, where my dad did learn how to drive. What happens to us? I have no other way to put it. What happens to the Jackson Wildlife Preserve that's out there too? And all the other farms that are affected that aren't even annexing their land. I mean, there's farms that are being fed off of that same spring that would be gone. There's a bigger impact than what you guys are seeing. And I hate to say it that way, but it is. And my boyfriend currently works for Ziegler Landscaping. They do all of the mowing for Alliant Energy Center. They have doubled all of their land within the last year, putting more on to the people who are doing it. But it seems like this is happening and we didn't even know it. Like, this is happening before we couldn't say no. Why else would Alliant Energy Center be doubling all of their land, all of their substations? Thank you.
Okay. And your first name was Trinity? All right, then I got the right form. Thank you. With that, then we're gonna move on to fluoride. Did you want QTS? Did you register?
I did.
Okay, please come forward and state your name.
Good evening, members of the Village Board. My name is Tammy Mitchell. I live at 831 Shooting Star Circle here in DeForest. I'm here tonight to express my strong opposition to the proposed annexation of land and development of a QTS data center in our community. While QTS promises economic benefits, including jobs, tax revenue, and community investments, I urge the board to look beyond the glossy photos and unverified claims of a multi-billion-dollar corporation and consider the long-term consequences of this project on the citizens that you represent. First, the environmental impact. Data centers consume enormous amounts of electricity and water. QTS claims to use water-free cooling and renewable energy, but these promises have been disproven in other similar data center projects around the country. What safeguards will be in place to protect our local ecosystems, especially the Yahara River and surrounding wetlands? Will the village commission independent environmental studies before making any decisions? Second, transparency and public input. The town of Vienna saw fierce opposition to a similar proposal, and a public meeting was abruptly canceled when its board learned local media would be present. That raises concerns about how openly this process is being handled by our own village administration. If this data center is supposed to be a positive for our community, why were private one-on-one meetings held with board members rather than open forums where residents could participate? If QTS is so proud of what they are proposing, they should be required to meet with the residents who will be impacted by this project and answer our questions directly. Will DeForest residents have meaningful opportunities to review the full scope of the project and voice their concerns before any annexation or zoning decisions are made? Third, community character and quality of life. A massive industrial facility like a data center changes the landscape of a community, literally and figuratively. How will this affect traffic, noise, and property values? What about the impact on our drinking water, water pressure in our homes, and potential increases in utility bills caused by the cost of the infrastructure required to build and maintain a facility such as this? What will be the visual impact on our neighborhoods? Is this the kind of development we want shaping DeForest's future? Finally, I ask the board, what is the timeline for public hearings and decisions? And will you commit to full transparency with the residents you represent during every step of this process? Will you commit to a full environmental review before any annexation and share those findings with your constituents? How will you ensure that community voices are heard and respected throughout this process? In closing, I urge you to prioritize the long-term overall well-being of our community over short-term promises of economic incentives. I hope your decisions reflect our shared concern that DeForest grows in a way that reflects our values, protects our environment, preserves the beauty of our community, and ensures our quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I think now we're ready to move the fluoride. Are there any more online that I missed? Oh, please come forward and state your name. What, did you give us a form?
Did.
Okay. They can hear when I ask.
Do I push it or?
It is push, so you're good. You're good. Just your name and your address.
My name is Shannon Skeen. My address is 220 Evergreen Lane in DeForest, right across from the high school. And I have heard a lot about the data centers. I've been following on Facebook the Menominee group. I've watched a lot of YouTube. I've read a lot of articles. I've read some action reports from environmental ones. And my only question to the board that I would appreciate if you asked QTS is the one question that none of these data centers can seem to answer. And that is, what do we do with this facility once it becomes obsolete in 10 to 15 years and they have destroyed the arable land? Can we refurbish it? Can we reuse it as a building? Can we reuse the water? They say they have a closed loop system, but they also admit that they have to update it occasionally and there are chemicals used in it that will occasionally escape. So that's my only question. If you could pose it to them, that'd be great. Thank you guys for serving.
All right. I think we've been through the data center then. Oh. Please come forward. I want to remind everyone, the QTS is having information meetings and discussions, and we read the schedule and it's in the paper this week and next week. And I encourage you to take those questions to QTS and ask them.
We ask them and they don't have answers.
Well, keep trying.
Okay. I'm not ready to give up. Okay. Hi, my name is Kim Hahn. I live at 7611 Hatton Road in Dane. I've been a DeForest resident since 1963 and moved to the township of Vienna in 1980. I've seen a lot of changes in the area over the years. I do not object to changes, but this is ridiculous. It really is. These few farms that are wanting to sell their land are not family farms, not the family farms that we all know and love to hear about. These are corporations and they're massive. They have a lot of backers and they have a lot of money, and it's just pure greed at this point. These buildings will not benefit anybody other than these farmers that get their money. They've decided to sell their souls over this. There will be no employment changes that QTS will bring in. There'll be a few, but it's maintenance. There will, however, be an increase in that everyone will see in our utility bills. QTS will not take any responsibility in our water table. This will affect our wells. They will also not take any responsibility of the noise pollution and these buildings create or the effect it will cause of our wildlife and their habitat. I am begging each and every one of you, please think with your heart and not with your pocketbook. And just think of us that have to live with looking at these buildings instead of our landscape that we have enjoyed. That's why we live out in the country. That would be like putting a skyscraper right in the middle of DeForest. What do you do with it? There's no reason to have these here. Thank you.
All right, I appreciate that. And did we get everyone from the other room? How about online? If not, we're going to move to fluoride. And we're going to begin with Andrew Burns. Andrew patiently sat through the earlier meetings, so thank you.
Hello, my name is Andrew Burns. I live at 456 Sunset Drive. I'm here this evening to speak on behalf of myself, my wife Kelly Fox, and our expected daughter. I want to address two issues. First, my family was disheartened to learn in February that the board directed the DeForest Water Utility to discontinue fluoride addition to our water supply. In response, my wife and I exercised our civic voice by voting for Alicia Williams in the recent special election. Our vote reflected both our concern about Mr. Landgraf's behavior and our hope that a newly composed board would reconsider the fluoride decision. While I can't speak for the entire community, I can attest that at least 2 of the 1,884 votes that gave Ms. Williams a resounding 78.4% victory were informed by a desire to see this decision revisited. Tonight, I ask you to move forward with the fluoride reconsideration process informed by science, public health, and community input, one that results in a new vote on resuming fluoride addition at established safe levels.
Andrew, give us 1 minute here. If you're out in the entryway, we can't shut the door for legal reasons, but you need to be quiet just as if you're in this room. Worse than my grandkids. All right, go ahead.
Second, I am here to voice my opposition to the possible annexation of territory from the town of Vienna for data center development. I look forward to outlining specific concerns if and when a petition is filed. In the meantime, I commend the board and village staff for transparent communication to date. As this process unfolds, I urge you to apply healthy skepticism to QTS's claims of community benefits. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris McDonald.
Good evening. My name is Chris McDonald. I live at 4,000 Longfellow Court in the village of Windsor. 9 months ago, in a 4-3 decision, this board voted to discontinue community water fluoridation. And that decision was a mistake. It's not your fault. You were set up for failure. You were forced to make a quick decision without the information you needed. The timing of this discussion was when the community was exhausted from politics and over a holiday break when people were focused on family. Activists seek out conditions like DeForest to push their agenda. It's literally in their playbook. Since then, the response from DeForest has been clear and you have the information you need. In the spring election, a write-in candidate who supported fluoride received more votes than any in recent history and would have been easily elected had her name been on the ballot. Next, a successful recall petition was launched after the spring election. And while the reasons for starting the recall were trustee behavior, it's incorrect to say that the wild success of the recall petition had nothing to do with fluoride. And lastly, a mandate was delivered in the recall election where a trustee was removed from office and another candidate who did not support fluoride received little support. The candidate who supported revisiting fluoride received nearly 80% of the vote. Residents have done their part. There should be no doubt in any trustee's mind that reconsidering this decision is what the majority of DeForest wants. Earlier this year, we were discussing $9,000 in cost to update feed pumps. The DHS have indicated grant funding is available for this cost. Any new estimates significantly higher should be received with a healthy dose of skepticism. I've spoken personally with engineers and leadership at the DNR, and they have indicated they will be flexible with DeForest on regulations. This process must be unbiased. The information gathered must reflect fact and not individual preference. I urge this board to set a deadline tonight and communicate progress at work sessions. We don't want this issue dominating a third election cycle next spring. This board made a mistake, and that's okay. Let's fix it. This was a 4-3 decision, and 2 of the trustees who drove that decision no longer represent DeForest. In every way possible, the majority of DeForest residents have made their wishes clear. I'm asking you to instruct staff to move forward with this review so this board can make an informed decision and fix this mistake. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Morgan Brook.
Hi, my name is Morgan Brook. I live at 920 Liberty Drive here in DeForest. I did send out an email to everyone today, so if you did read it, I don't have to necessarily say my full spiel. But anyway, I'm a registered dental hygienist and a resident of DeForest. I've been practicing in the community for 14 years, and in that time, I've witnessed firsthand how dramatically oral health impacts overall health, confidence, and quality of life, especially for our children. I'm here tonight to urge the board to reconsider its decision to remove fluoride from our community water supply. As a dental professional, I can confidently tell you that community water fluoridation is the most effective, equitable, and fiscally responsible public health measure we can provide. It protects every person regardless of age, income, and access to dental care. Since fluoride was removed, I've had countless patients every single day ask me why. Like, why did the board remove fluoride? What made them make this decision? And honestly, I don't know what to tell them because none of it makes sense. All I can say is that I have no idea why they have taken something away that has provided protection for families' health for over 75 years in a healthy way. And I'll be honest, I can't comprehend how this decision came to head because a lot of it doesn't make sense to not only me as a dental professional, but for all of my patients who I talk to every single day. What I do see every day are the consequences of this decision. I see children with preventable tooth decay that now are in the chair, having decay fixed. I see parents forced to choose between paying for a filling or buying groceries that week. Dental care is not cheap, not sure if you're aware. I see fear and frustration, and I hear it in their voices when they tell me they've lost trust in those making decisions for this community, such as our board. I'm deeply disappointed that after removing fluoride, there has been no oral health coalition or educational effort created to fill that gap. There has been nothing from the board at all. I have gone into schools. I have been teaching kids everything that I know because I actually care. If this was a dental provider who made this decision that knowingly resulted in widespread dental harm, that would be dental neglect, and we would lose our licensure. The only guidance that this board has offered to residents has been to speak to your dentist. Those dentists are the same dental professionals who advocated for to keep fluoride, to maintain it in our water system. We know it's safe, effective, and cost effective for an entire community, but you didn't want to listen to us then. So why do you want them to listen to their dentist when it comes to talking about fluoride? I'm very confused on that. I urge you to reconsider this decision to keep fluoride in the water, please.
Thank you, Morgan. Nancy Quirk. I'm waiting.
Okay, it looks green. So
Take a breath. You're fine.
just make I take water. Good evening, President Wilbraham and trustees. My name is Nancy Quirk, 906 Pheasant Lane, DeForest. I recently retired after 36 years in the Wisconsin drinking water sector, including engineering roles in Madison, Waukesha, as well as service as general manager of Green Bay Water Utility. In all three systems, we fluoridate because it is safe, effective, and among the most affordable public health protections a utility can provide. My request tonight is specific and straightforward. Please place on your next agenda and support a motion to restore community water fluoridation at the U.S. Public Health Service optimum level of 0.7 milligrams per liter. Why now? In February, the board voted 4-3 to stop adding fluoride. Since then, our community held a recall as Chris went through, chose a new trustee on the platform that emphasized civility and a reset on this issue. We have an opportunity to come together around a public health consensus and move forward. The science is clear. The U.S. Public Health Service recommended 0.7 milligrams per liter is a level that maximizes cavity prevention while minimizing risk. Major health organizations, including the American Dental Association, the American Academy of Pediatric Dentistry, support fluoridation. Communities that fluoridate see about 25% fewer cavities and save roughly $32 per person per year in avoided treatment costs, with an estimated $20 return for every dollar invested. We also know that what happens with fluoride when fluoridation stops. Real-world evidence included data from Anago, Wisconsin, that demonstrates that tooth decay surges when fluoridation is discontinued and declines again when it's reinstated. Anago saw significant increases in children's cavities within a few years of stopping, then ultimately voted to resume fluoridation. That experience has been echoed in multiple cessation studies. Cost and equity matter. Fluoridation is one of the lowest cost ways to prevent disease for everyone, including seniors and families who struggle to access regular dental care. For most communities, it saves far more than it costs year after year. Operationally, this is straightforward. DeForest system history includes wells that have and have not been fluoridated, such as well 6 in the former Token Creek area. A board vote to restore fluoridation at the CDC recommended target sets the direction. Staff can then stage the practical steps, such as feeding systems, monitoring, and communications to achieve a consistent level across the zones we serve. That is everyday utility work and well within their capabilities. I'm sharing this from my own experience as Green Bay's general manager. I was also the regulatory chair of AWWA's Water Utility Council and served as EPA's National Drinking Water Advisory Council. During those years, no credible body recommended rolling back fluoridation standards. I'm happy to assist the utility in any way that I can. Thank you for your time in centering civility, evidence, and the health of the DeForest family.
Thank you, Nancy. All right, Janelle Wolf. Oh, Chris is going to read it? Okay. Which is fine.
Yeah, Janelle's a DeForest resident. She couldn't be here tonight, so she asked me to read this statement. I would just tell you this, these are her words, not mine, so just know that. Janelle Wolf is a DeForest resident. She lives at 917 Apple Blossom Drive. As a resident, property taxpayer, and utilities customer, I believe we have the right to a voice in decisions that directly affect our community and our families. One of those decisions is what goes into our water. As a mother of 4 children, I want to say, and whether fluoride is added to our water supply, families deserve the opportunity to educate themselves and vote on this issue. This is a matter of personal and public choice, not one that should be decided behind closed doors and by outside influencers. In the past, we witnessed corruption, misinformation, and a lack of transparency from certain board members. That history eroded public trust. Now that new members are in place, I urge you to take this opportunity to rebuild that trust by prioritizing openness and resident input. I am also requesting that residents be given a voice and a vote on a proposed data center. Numerous studies have shown that data centers have significant environmental impacts, including heavy consumption of water and electricity. Too often, these costs are shifted to residents rather than being borne by the corporations that profit. These facilities should bear the burden of the cost in taxes, utilities, and environmental safeguards, not leave the community to shoulder the burden. The board must restore transparency and ensure that the people you serve are not shut out of major decisions. We, the residents, demand a fair and democratic process, including, if possible, a public vote on both fluoride and our water and the proposed QTS data center. And again, these are Janelle's words, not mine. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Brandy? I don't know if you all noticed, but I'm up here shivering. I'm gonna ask her to get me some coffee. I'm on a medication that I just get cold at night, so any kind of flavored coffee. So you might think they're trying to freeze me out. They really aren't. All right, it is cold in here, right?
There's too many people, so the air kicked in because it's to regulate, and if I adjust the temperature, the air will just go up again, so it is what it is. I can get you a space heater.
Yeah. I've got a blanket under on my knees, so another jacket. We're doing well. I'm fine. Delia Giffortley. If I screw up a name, please just correct me and don't be insulted.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. Dear board members, as a concerned citizen and
Sorry, excuse me. I don't mean to interrupt. Could you please state your name and address? For me?
Sorry, Delia Griffiths, the address is 4140 Parker Court, DeForest. Dear board members, as a concerned citizen and a hopeful parent, I commend the board for bringing back the fluoride discussion. Scientific data shows long-term benefits, and we all want what's best for our children. As a new resident of the village, I hope to see transparency in decisions that affect us all, and especially the future of our children. I think this past summer and the special election in September showed us the will of people. And I want to trust that it has a significant weight for our village leadership. I hope the board will follow science and engage in a transparent process, listening to the constituents. Now, with a potential data center on the horizon, please consider the will of people, which is overwhelmingly opposed to this development. Please consider the statistics on long-term environmental consequences of the proposed data center near our community. Our river and trails that we take such pride in, that are so attractive for people to visit the forest for, and even move in for some. My family was one of them. The wildlife we all enjoy to observe, the fresh air and the clean water that we all need to sustain us. This data center development threatens it all. I hope to see the board to lead us with facts, transparency, and compassion for the health of our community, both for the quality of our water and the dangers of data center that's being proposed. Thank you.
Abigail Lowry. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Abby Lowry. I am a Village of DeForest resident. My exact address is on the appearance form. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. Wanted to welcome the new trustees, Trustee Cords and Trustee Williams. And also just community members in the room and in the other room. I'm really excited to see you all share your thoughts and disagree as well on certain issues. But also don't ever hesitate to let your local elected officials know when you agree with them or approve of what they're doing, because if you want certain things that they're doing right to continue, let them know. So that's just my word of advice. I am registering my support for reconsideration of the previous decision to remove fluoride from our water supply. I know a lot of people who were concerned about that decision, the process to gain public input, and certain trustee behavior at that time. There are others who flat out disagreed with that decision. Now that there are two brand new, energetic, conscientious trustees on the board, in addition to the other ones, I think it would be a wise decision to reconsider that previous decision. I am also sharing my concern and disagreement with the proposed annexation of land to DeForest for the purpose of building a data center. I agree with many of the points made by my fellow community members. I would just add that I disagree with the current proliferation of AI. I think AI will cause more problems in our society than solutions. A recent example is the village has a $2,000 a year AI assistant on the village website. And I used it the other day to search, I was just curious. I searched ordinances about signs and I got an error message. So that is kind of an example of how I don't think the AI technology is worth it in that situation and other situations. I also read in a recent In Business magazine article that this data center would be used for, quote, AI applications. Thus, since I am opposed to the concerning implications of the current proliferation of AI, I am opposed to this data center, which is only being proposed because of AI. Also, let's be a good neighbor. It sounds like folks of Vienna don't want this data center. They will have to live right next to it. These people are members of our community. Their kids go to the same schools as ours, use the same community center, library, etc. They are our friends. They are our neighbors. Please respect their voices, especially since a lot of your constituents seem to agree with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. John Schmidnick. Yes, ma'am. Anybody can do that. No, I didn't. All right, if you have a complaint, you can contact me later, but thank you.
Good evening. My name is John Schmidnick. I own a home at 717 West Mohawk Trail with my wife, Lynn. We have been village residents for over 20 years. I'm not an activist. I'm not a lobbyist. I'm here tonight simply as a village resident to speak to the board regarding the removal of fluoride from the public water supply. Fluoridated water has been around since the mid-1940s. CDC has named water fluoridation one of the 10 greatest public health achievements of the 20th century. I have surveyed the medical community, doctors, dentists, dental hygienists. Everyone I spoke with had the same response. Water fluoridation is most certainly a benefit for oral health. The dentists were adamant about young children being at a much greater risk for tooth decay. A CDC study showed that 2/3 of third grade students experience tooth decay in non-fluoridated communities. The risk is highest among low socioeconomic status citizens that may not have the means to add fluoride outside the community water system. Minorities and the poor have higher rates of decayed or missing teeth. In good conscience, how can we knowingly take this group of people and subject them to higher risk? Mental health and quality of life is also very much at stake. The recent recall of a village trustee is a testament to this very issue. The subsequent election tells the story. The two candidates that did not support fluoride received 20% of the vote combined. 80, 10, 10. The residents have clearly spoken and action should be taken. With tooth decay being one of the most preventable diseases, it doesn't make sense to not provide a safe and effective solution. As a parent, grandparent, and concerned citizen, I ask you to open this topic back up for additional discussion. We owe it to our community. We owe it to our most vulnerable and at-risk citizens. In closing, I am also vehemently opposed to the data center. I'm going to throw something really revolutionary at you. Why don't we go for a grocery store?
Oh, if only we could. All right. Lori Qualheim. Is she in the other room? All right, great. And then Rebecca after her. Welcome.
It's all good? All right. Well, I've been a dental hygienist for 49 years.
Can you give us your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. Lori Qualheim, 857 Shooting Star Circle. And I've been a hygienist for 49 years.
Thank you.
And I'm not going to repeat everything that everyone else has said. Restore fluoride back to our water. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Rebecca.
Apologize for my croakness. I promise I'm not contagious. It's just that lingering cough.
I understand. But are you cold? I could get them to turn the heat.
No, actually, I was very thankful for the cool. My name is Rebecca Witherspoon. My address is on my form. I'm speaking tonight as a nearly 20-year resident of the DeForest and as one of the now former trustees who voted in February of this year to remove fluoride from our public water supply. That decision was not made impulsively or without research. It was made after carefully reviewing peer-reviewed studies as well as the recent federal court order and the growing body of evidence showing that fluoride is not the harmless additive that well-paid lobbyists and pharmaceutical companies with their bottom lines in sight have unethically convinced the public to believe it to be, all while knowing full well how harmful it actually is. It is officially classified as a neurotoxin, and research continues to link it to negative impacts on brain development, especially in the most vulnerable among us, babies in the womb and bottle-fed infants. I also want to be clear, excuse me. What happened after that vote last February nearly destroyed our community. For nearly 10 months, I and others who supported the removal of fluoride were relentlessly smeared and defamed by extremists in DeForest and neighboring communities who cared more about winning an argument than protecting public health. They refused to consider the emerging science simply because of who was presenting it. And they used fear-mongering, intimidation, and harassment to silence anyone who disagreed with them. When my husband died in early September, I just couldn't take anymore. I needed to concentrate on what was going on in my life, and I stepped down. But stepping down in September does not mean I stopped caring about this community. Now the same divisive issue is back on the agenda, pushed by some of the very same people who publicly smeared, intimidated, and harassed me and others. And for what? To force this community to ingest a toxic industrial waste chemical that people can already choose to use voluntarily. To repeat the same cycle of misinformation and division that we just endured. Instead of wasting more time and public trust rehashing this issue, we should be focusing on what truly matters, ensuring that our water is free from all contaminants including things like lead, arsenic, mercury, PFAS, and microplastics. Toxins that all of us know are harmful to our health and that no one disputes needs to be removed. Reintroducing the neurotoxin fluoride into our public water would be a step backward for both science and community trust. I urge this board to stand firm, to respect individual choice, and to protect the health of all residents, especially our children. Thank you.
All right, I have a form from Ashley Kuba who said she doesn't want to speak, but she supports reconsideration. Yes. Lindsay Frey. Oh, there's a place in heaven for you, Greg. I just stole it from you. Thank you, Judd.
It is colder in here. It's nice.
Thank you. January, guys, in January, this is all done. Okay, where were we?
Yeah.
Up.
Yes, my name is Lindsay Fry, 511 Shane O'Donnell Drive here in DeForest. And I wanted to thank you again for serving. I'm not going to take a lot of time because you've heard a lot tonight. I also want to express my appreciation for people to participate via Zoom and watch online. That is very helpful. My daughter is sitting in the other room and she's been doing great, but she's older. So if I was at home with young kids, I couldn't have been here. Thank you for revisiting the removal of fluoride from our water. Fluoride needs to be put back in our water. Those studies are not scientifically good studies. Fluoride is a natural occurring element in the water and it is safe. I fed my daughter formula with bottled water and I feel very safe having done that. So thank you so much for revisiting that issue. Now switching to QTS, I have a lot of concerns. I am not for this. I'm not for the annexation. Vienna doesn't like it. It sounds like this has been something that goes back and forth between us and Vienna. I'm not quite sure about the history and that's my ignorance, so I need to do more research. I'm concerned that this brochure I got is very vague. So when you said ask what they want to do, what QTS wants to do, they're leaving a lot of information, I think, out of here. And I don't feel like I can trust them. They're a multi-billion-dollar company, like $150 billion Blackstone has. So I trust you more than I trust a huge company coming in and probably messing with our water, the environment, and taking away farms. I also have a concern, what if they file for bankruptcy? And someone also said too, when this data center isn't usable anymore, because their life is only 15 to 20 years or so. We need fluoride back in our water and please listen to us about the data center too as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, I may screw this name up. Ewa Budzinski? Anywhere near?
Hello?
Okay.
I'll tell you what it is. So my name is Eva Budzinski and my address is 3809 Misty Lane, DeForest, Wisconsin. And I'm a resident of Windsor. So I'm here because I would like to thank you for, sorry, First of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm a little nervous and I get very emotional when I do this. I was part of the team who worked on the recall petition that was described by Chris this summer. I am also a board certified toxicologist. I would like to applaud the board for bringing water fluoridation back for discussion. Thank you very much. I joined the recall team for 3 reasons. I care about my community and my neighbors. I was concerned about the disrespect for science, and because I was concerned that the process for removal of fluoride from the water was not transparent and the decision seemed to be against what the community wanted. While knocking on doors to collect the signatures, I had the opportunity to listen to the reasons that the forest residents were in support of the recall. The residents were concerned about misuse of science and that the board members did not represent their values. Many residents were concerned with the misuse of scientific information to push the agenda of the few, while putting at risk the health of the most vulnerable members of our community. I am very happy to hear that the board is willing to evaluate the information again, and I urge the trustees to look at all the data that allows for proper risk-benefit analysis. The second concern from the residents was the disappointment with the lack of transparency around the process. The residents were concerned with how fast the fluoride issue was pushed through the board without allowing the residents proper time to discuss and evaluate. Many residents spoke against removing fluoride before the decision was made, and they felt that the board went against what the majority of the residents wanted. This damaged the residents' trust in the board. Finally, the community is being heard through the recall process and the special election results. Bringing the issue of water fluoridation back for discussion will bring science and facts into our community, and it will help restore the community's trust in the board. DeForest Village trustees, thank you very much for listening to the community and the residents you represent. Thank you.
Thank you. I got this one. Ann Alexander. All right, but she is registering that she wants fluoride being reintroduced, correct? Oh, and I knew your name. Craig Arms. Some of it's handwriting, guys. It's not just my inability. Is Craig over there? All right, thank you.
Apologize, my handwriting is one of the bad ones.
No. I'm just pointing fingers instead of taking the blame on that one. I'm sorry.
No, it's a fact. My wife complains all the time. Hello, my name is Craig Harms. I live at 625 DeForest Street here in DeForest. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf here. I've heard a lot of really good things supporting fluoride, and I too support fluoride being reintroduced into our water. The previous toxicologist that spoke, speaking about science and how it's going to impact, and you heard dental hygienists speak about the impact on our most vulnerable members of our society here in DeForest. I'm a trained chemist. I have a biochemistry degree, a chemistry degree, as well as a biotechnology degree. So fluoride is naturally occurring in our environment. Also, when it is added to a water supply, it is monitored very closely to make sure it's in the therapeutic range, not in the toxic range, or not in the ineffective range. Same thing as pharmaceutical drugs that we all potentially take at times. Science needs to be listened to and followed with this. I really appreciate that the board is bringing this back to the table. My wife spoke previously on this. We're both passionate about it. We want to ensure that the village is heard and that we get the opportunity for transparency with what's going on. So thank you very much for the time. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Stacy Peterson. Okay.
You can begin when you're ready, Stacy.
And just to note, Stacy did provide comments and they'll be attached to the record.
Thank you. My name's Stacy Peterson. I live at 407 Trailside Drive. Good evening, everyone. I wanted to be clear that I'm not here to argue for or against fluoride. I will drink the water either way. But my focus is simply that we make a decision that respects everyone in the community and avoid repeating past division. When the village previously voted to remove water, Dr. Chris Kammer, a licensed Wisconsin dentist, offered to help DeForest establish a topical fluoride and sealant program. When silver diamond fluoride is combined with the sealant, research shows that up to 96% reduction in tooth decay, compared to about 25% of the fluoride drinking water. This program is topical, meaning no one has to ingest the fluoride. It's more effective in preventing cavities, fully covered by the state of Wisconsin for anyone with state aid, and can be provided in schools and local clinics right here in DeForest. And for families who are not covered under the state aid, the money of the village saves by the purchasing of fluoride chemicals can be used to ensure that every child still has access to this care. In other words, people want fluoride, get stronger protection. People do not want to ingest it as respected, and no child is left out. This is common ground solution. As a parent of a child with neuro delays and seizures, consume and consent matters to me. But I'm not asking the board to choose one side. I'm asking us to choose the option that brings people together. I also think it's important to acknowledge the broader policy landscape right now. 2 states have already passed laws to remove fluoride statewide, and 21 states currently have legislation introduced to reconsider, restrict, or to remove water fluoridation, including states with both Republican and Democratic leadership. With the Wisconsin gubernatorial election coming up, it's very possible that statewide policy could shift in 1 to 3 years. If the village reinvests in fluoride now, we may end up reversing that decision again later, which would cost more, divide the community more, and erode trust in the process. So my request is simple. Please pause, fully evaluate the already offered state-supported topical fluoride program before making a final decision about adding fluoride back to the drinking water. This choice allows us to protect children better, maintain personal and parental choices, and reduce costs to the village, and choose community over conflict. Thank you.
Thank you. The next is Beth Storch. I know that name.
Beth Stork, 616 Jefferson Street in DeForest. I would like to thank the board for putting fluoridating our drinking water back on the table for further discussion. I am not an expert on dental health. That is why I listen to my dental hygienist and my dentist and follow their recommendations. I value their expertise. And I feel that the American Dental Association, or the ADA, is a credible source for information on using fluoridated drinking water. In April of this year, the ADA stated that, quote, as dentists, we see the direct consequences fluoride removal has on our patients, and it's a real tragedy when policymakers' decisions hurt vulnerable kids and adults in the long term. Blindly calling for the ban on fluoridated water hurts people, costs money, and will ultimately harm our economy. I would like to emphasize that they felt that removing fluoride would hurt vulnerable kids and adults. Furthermore, Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health published an article last November entitled "Why Fluoride is Necessary for Public Health." And they concluded that removing it from the water will cause a lot of vulnerable populations to suffer. Again, removing fluoride from water will cause a lot of vulnerable populations to suffer. Is that what we want to do? Is that the type of community we want to be? A community where vulnerable kids and adults are more at risk for dental and other health problems? A community where there is one more thing that separates the haves from the have-nots. One last note. When I go to my dentist, my dental hygienist supports the fluoride treatment that costs $40 as another layer of protection. So that's $80 a year that I spend. For my family of 3, that costs an additional $240. A family of 4, that would be $320. Family 5, it's $400. How many of our citizens who may be living paycheck to paycheck can afford that additional cost? I can tell you that when I was in that position, I would not have been able to do it, and I would have forgone that treatment. I was lucky though, my drinking water was fluoridated. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Brenda Stoudemire.
Brenda Stoudemire, 1278 Doty Street, Green Bay. Flowsilicic acid is not natural calcium fluoride. It's acid that contains lead and arsenic scrubbed from industry smokestacks. I'm the Wisconsin mom who sued the US EPA and won. The Obama-appointed federal judge conducted the most exhaustive review of fluoride science in US history. After 7 years of experts and NIH-funded research, the court concluded that fluoridation at 0.7 poses an unreasonable risk to the developing brain. This is not my opinion. This is a federal finding based on the best science available today. And no matter how much the misguided bullies rely on authority instead of evidence or intimidation instead of facts, nothing they say overturns what federal scientists and a federal judge have confirmed. For anyone who wants to see the evidence, I maintain an archive of the primary research at fluoridelawsuit.com/science. This is the actual peer-reviewed studies from the past few years, which is what evidence-based policy requires, not outdated talking points manufactured last century. I don't have enough time to tell you about the studies on my website, like the one released in October, finding fluoride increases fracture risk, especially in women over 50. It's on fluoridelawsuit.com/science. I also don't have time to talk about the Indiana University School of Dentistry's peer-reviewed US study from a few months ago, showing that chronic fluoride exposure disrupts multiple metabolic pathways and affects organ function. On Friday, a US government-funded study was released that examined urine fluoride, fluorosis, and kidney and liver function in American adolescents and young adults. It found that fluoride exposure, both long-term and recent, was associated with reduced kidney filtration. The cherry-picked claim that fluoride reduces cavities by 25% comes from the 90s. In 2024, Cochrane Review, the gold standard, found fluoride may reduce decay by 4% or less, even possibly by 0. Tooth decay remains the #1 chronic disease in children in fluoridated communities, and emergency dental visits happen regularly. The fluoride fantasy collapses the moment you look at the actual science. When people don't have science, they resort to intimidation. The evidence of harm has become overwhelming. The US Commissioner of the Food and Drugs notified fluoride manufacturers on Friday that new studies link fluoride exposure to lower IQ, thyroid disruption, weight gain, and gut microbiome changes, and that ingestible fluoride products have no proven benefit on primary teeth.
I'm sorry, your time has expired.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. Next, and the finals registration I have is Carrie Spencer. I encourage people when you leave to go quietly when you get to the hallway. Come forward. Are you Carrie? I don't, but that doesn't mean I don't somewhere. So after Carrie, you're welcome to come up. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Carrie Spencer, and I work for the Wisconsin Department of Health Services in the Oral Health Program. The Oral Health Program received a request to provide information on community water fluoridation equipment opportunities for the DeForest Village Board this evening. Each year, the Department of Health Services has funding for community water fluoridation equipment grants. This funding allows communities to upgrade or install equipment that will make fluoridation systems easier to operate, provide more accurate dosage, or increase the safety and environmental conditions in chemical storage rooms. This grant opportunity is available 1 or 2 times a year, with an opportunity coming this fall. The next anticipated grant opportunity will be available in the summer of 2026. Information to know about this grant is it is a non-matching grant opportunity. The allowable project expenses for the grant include chemical storage tanks and ventilation, pumps and valves, fluoride testing equipment, scales and radar sensors, personal protective equipment, room exhaust and ventilation, and equipment calibration. If the Village of DeForest decides to resume community water fluoridation, the information for this grant opportunity can be found on the flyer that I provided to the clerk. The flyer has information I shared tonight, how to contact the Oral Health Program, and where you can sign up for notice of community water fluoridation grant opportunities. Thank you for your time this evening, and thank you for letting me share this information with you.
Thank you. Please come forward. I don't know how I missed your name, but somehow I have, so. There you go.
Thank you.
It's it.
Sorry. My name is Joe Dish, and I live at 213 South Main Street here in DeForest. I've lived here about 25 years, raised 2 adult children here. And I believe that the initial decision to stop adding fluoride to our water was the correct one, and that we're not alone. There's a number of communities and states and countries that are moving in the same direction. I don't deny that fluoride can have benefits, dental benefits when used topically at least. But I would like to reflect that when it was originally introduced, it was considered an industrial byproduct, and its primary medical use was to suppress thyroid function in people with Graves' disease. Since then, there have been numerous studies showing other things that people have talked about, like bone and joint health problems, lower IQ in children. And I just consider it something that should be approached with great caution in light of the new science. I agree, I'm sorry. Secretary Kennedy with the HHS has said that, let me get the quote right, no government should mandate medical choices through the water supply. And I agree with that. I think that's treatment for livestock, not citizens. And I think that the dosing can't be controlled in a water-based system because people use different amounts of water and use it for cooking, and we absorb it through our skin and breathe it in when we're showering and bathing. And it's just not an appropriate way to do a medical treatment. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. And I did find your form stuck to another one, so I'm sorry I missed you. All right. Something else I missed, and I want to announce they're here. We have some Eagle Scouts joining us tonight, and we're very pleased to have you here and part of our meeting. Boy Scouts wanting to be Eagle Scouts. All right. But we appreciate it and hope you find this educational. So welcome. With that, I think we have gotten through all the public appearances. Did we get everyone online? All right. Well, then it is about the time we often have a brief break. So Pauline's shaking her head. Yes, that would be good. So we're going to do that. I'm specifying to the board brief because it's late. So please come on back in a few minutes and then we'll start again. Just look at the new agenda. Thank you. All right. The next item on our agenda is 9.1, right? Yeah, that's where we are. Just checking. Discussion and possible action regarding resolution 2025-099, a resolution thanking Rebecca Witherspoon for her dedicated service to the village of DeForest. You have the resolution in your packet and in front of you, it says, whereas the Village of DeForest Board on behalf of the DeForest community recognizes trustee Rebecca Witherspoon for her 4.5 years of service to the residents of the Village of DeForest, and whereas the Village Board wishes to sincerely thank trustee Witherspoon for her contributions to the community and her interest in the betterment of DeForest. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village of DeForest Board of Trustees, employees and residents thank trustee Rebecca Witherspoon for her commitment to the Village of DeForest, adopted at a regular meeting of the DeForest Village Board this 4th day of November, 2025. And this is resolution 2025-099. I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We will give this to Rebecca. Is she here? Oh, come on forward. Quit giving an old lady a hard time.
And then we'll have everybody sign it.
You know, that would be helpful. She knows. Thank you. Thank you. Then we'll do that to Jared. But by now, thank you very much. And thank you for your service. And we wish you well and all you're going to do. Good. We'll get this signed and then return. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to hand it to Kelly. Thank you. Got rid of one layer of blankets, so this is wonderful. All right. Next week, we're going to have a resolution negotiating temperatures at the board. All right, item 9.2, discussion and possible action regarding fluoride reconsideration process. And Bill Chang is going to kick this off. And then we will come back because then we'll know the process we're going to use. So I leave this with Bill for the time being. Thank you.
Yeah, so there's a memo in the packet. A couple questions that we'd like to ask as staff for some direction. First and foremost, if reconsideration is something that the board wants to move forward with, we'd like to understand what is we would like to establish a process for doing so and understanding kind of the capacity of what our responsibilities are, whether it's research and what we are researching, whether it's soliciting for subject matter experts. And so, I think that's the first question is what is the parameter for the reconsideration of adding fluoride back to the water system? Secondly, as stated in the memo, the system, when are we going back to how the system was previously, or are we looking at adding fluoride to the whole system? The reason being is because the south portion of the system, we acquired that water system from Berg, and it did not have fluoride in the water system at that time, or has never had fluoride in the system. The north system, the DeForest system, does have fluoride. Sometime, what year was it that the two systems were connected?
2021, both systems were connected, making it one utility versus two.
So 2021, the two systems were interconnected. At that time, there was no decision made on adding fluoride to the south system. So that in itself is the question, because that will have differing results if we're going back to the system as it was previously, or if we're going or considering adding fluoride to the whole system. Again, different costs, different implications. Kind of, if that is the desire, then what is, again, then the process, because you're changing, what was previously, you're swinging from one side to the other. So we could have some discussion around that and understand what the directive is, and then we can put together a plan to address it.
Okay, I appreciate that. I know what my answer is going to be, but I want to hear from the rest of the board. Mine is, we need to look at all of it. Because if we're going to provide it for a part of the community, we need to look at the cost to the whole community. And we need some experts to get involved to help us get the right decision or the right information to make our decision. So with that, I open it up to the rest of the board. Anybody else? Yes, Jim.
I guess I'll start, and I guess I can somewhat agree that we need to look at all of it, but when I say all of it, I don't mean just all of our system, I mean all of the options. Because we've heard tonight, or we've heard before, about topical solutions that might be a good option for us, that not have to necessarily add the water back in, or fluoride back into the water. And the one thing I wanted to know, or I wrote down the note, is like a neighboring community of Lodi, that they removed fluoride from their water when they got a cost analysis from the EPA saying that their 3 wells would be $521,000 to $637,000 to add fluoride to their system, or to correct it, or whatever the issue was. But to me, my understanding is that we have 4 wells. So I'm concerned about the cost implications of that. I don't think we have time to include that in this year's budget, knowing that we've got to have a vote real soon. So I feel like we do have time to incorporate it into next year's budget. So I don't necessarily see the immediate concern to move on this. And why I say that too is that we have some other pressing issues, and I'm concerned about our staff's time. So I think there might be more pressing issues coming to the head now. But to look at all of our options, including topical and different other things, I think is what we need to do, not just the situation of adding fluoride to our water or not. I'll leave it at that right now.
Okay. Those numbers don't seem right to me, Jim, but we can get those reviewed.
Yep, that was reported in the HG News or newspaper.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jim. I guess I'll counter you and say that I think that we need to look at options because there could be potential funds that we could lose out on by waiting. So looking at a cost to not only baseline, bring us back to what we were, but what the cost would be to fluoride, add fluoride to the all systems, and then looking at the opportunity cost of waiting if we're missing out on potential grants that would help that cost impacts. So I guess I just counter you in that I don't think that it's something that should be waited on.
Thank you. Others? Jan, Brad, Colleen?
I think if we're going to look at putting it back, then we're gonna have to do the whole system, not just part of the system. I don't know how many more experts we can hear from. I guess the first thing I'd like to know is what's it gonna cost? Do we need to replace these pumps that we've talked about before? And I'd love to see us apply for some of these grants. I just lost my train of thought completely.
All right, thank you. Yes, Jan?
I'm confused at the whole cost thing, because when we were talking about adding, if we were keeping fluoride before we took it out, I thought that the cost wasn't that much. Like, what? Like 9,000?
I recall it was 9,000 for pump repairs.
For pump repairs. And was that one pump or per pump or?
Well, it was replacing the pumps in the 3 well houses that we provided fluoride in. So well house 2, 3, and 4 had fluoride and had the pumps. Those pumps were failing. During the discussion, as I asked, when I was asking, like, I need an answer because if the pumps fail, one of them did fail, right? So the cost just to replace the pumps is $9,000. These other costs would be, if we're adding it to well 6, there's regulations the DNR requires us to do. And they have said that those wouldn't apply at well 2 because they would allow us to go back the way it was, where fluoride and chloride are right next to each other, and those two mix causes a gas chamber in that room. So those are considerations that the board would have to make as how we might want to handle that. But with well 6, we would have to add a separation room because we have separation at wells 3 and 4, where because it was mandated by that point that we had them separated. So those wells have separation areas for the fluoride, where well 2 does not, and well 6 never contemplated it because it didn't have that.
I think President Quirk is still in the room, and there are others who were here that said they've worked on systems, so perhaps we could get them to participate and to help us understand how, and there was someone who talked about the grants. I think we should talk with them and find out how we could mitigate some of that cost if we needed to.
Woman who talked and said she left a grant for her, I gave her my card. Clearly, we're not shy of asking for grants. We've gotten millions and millions of dollars in grants here in the public services sector for the village. So if your mandate to us is to put fluoride back in, we will exhaust every opportunity we can for grants to help mitigate those costs. So that's not an issue. If we'll do that, anything I live here. I don't want to pay more in a water utility bill than anybody else does, right? So I'll look for every grant we have.
Thank you. Yes, Colleen.
Wasn't there a new system of handling too that was talked about that was gonna make it a whole lot safer for the employees? I think Greg mentioned that when we first had this fluoride discussion.
Instead of us handling the material every time, filling the tanks, the company comes in, fills it basically once a month, once every other month or so. Instead of us moving chemicals around, we are buying bigger tanks, so we don't have to handle it.
So the potential for exposure for employees is greatly reduced?
It's less. We're still exposed to it every time you go into the well. A line could break, could be broken. You don't even know it until it hits you. Well 2, we have to be really careful with that well because the chlorine and the fluoride pumps are right next to each other. And we've had spills there in the past years ago. Where, you know, we had to evacuate and open up the well and get that chemical cleaned up, but so yeah, there's still risk. It's not done.
But there's risk in lots of things you guys work with, right?
Our guys are trained. We have highly, you know, if you want us to put it back in, just as we did prior when we had it, our guys will follow every safety protocol there is. Needless to say, there is still that opportunity. So anything we can do to mitigate that, which would be including rehabbing well 2 to separate those things, I think is in the benefit of the employees who work for us in the public services side.
Okay, well then let's include that in the study. In the review. Okay. All right.
No, it's like anything else that we do. This is what you want. What's it gonna cost? Which is gonna go on a tax bill. So let's find out what we're talking about, cost wise. And residents have made their opinions known. Are you willing to pay, you know, the additional on a tax bill of whatever this is gonna be? I mean, I'm just throwing it out there because that's reality.
And I think that's why we should find out what the implication is for returning it to as it was, rather than, and then getting what cost considerations are for adding it to the ones that did not have it before for that well, and what build is needed to make that safe. And then personally, I'd like to see all the research that was done before, because I haven't been able to see that. So it'd be very helpful for me to see that. I know there's a lot of experts that you got information from. So reconsidering that, I think we heard from enough people today that makes sense to look at those options and see what it is going to be for budgetary considerations.
Thank you. Tashidra, I saw your hand.
Hello, can you hear me okay? Oh, turned off my camera. So, one, I just want to highlight the fact that we've discussed this issue. We voted on this issue, and I understand that it's back on the table. And from the sound of the conversation, it sounds like we've already made the decision to put it back in. And so I just want to be clear that we're following necessary steps. But what I wanted to address is just the different concerns that I hear coming out of this. One, I know that there's risks in everything that we do. I mean, there's risks driving down the road and hoping that people will obey the lines, right? But my thing is if we know that there are risks that, you know, our individuals in our community are going to be faced with, I think it's our due diligence to make sure that we're not putting them in harm's way. The second thing that I hear is that there's a considerable number of people that are against it, but there are a considerable number of people that are for it as well. And so that's one of the things that, you know, to be perfectly clear, the reason I voted the way that I voted, it was not based on scientific opinion and different things of that nature, because whenever you do research, there's always pros and cons. And depending on how the research is conducted, you know, the level of efficacy of those studies and the buy-in and who's really running it, like there's so many factors that you can consider when you're dealing with imperfect humans trying to make decisions for other imperfect humans, right? And the other thing that I want to point out is, you know, unlike the other decisions that came up before us, we're talking about impact on families' lives. And while I understand that people are saying, you know, fluoride for the underserved and this, that, and the third, which is very true. I mean, we could say that about school lunches as well. I know that teeth are definitely impacted with what these kids are eating and drinking at school. But more importantly, the individuals that don't want it, how do we honor their voice of not wanting to congest something and also pay for something that they don't want when, you know, it occurs naturally in the community? We as a board can figure out ways to mitigate the fluoride situation without forcing people to do things that they don't want and violate their conscience, their body, and their health. And so that's what I stand on as a nurse, you know, being forced to have a flu shot when I clearly don't want it, just to work and provide for my family. I've heard from a lot of community members that reached out that said, I don't want it. And so how do we honor them as well? How do we honor their voice of not going against what they want to ingest in their body? Lastly, we're addressing the forced consumption, right? Because people will have to consume this if they want to drink the water, because you can't take it out once it's in, right? But if it's not in, you can put it in if you want it. We need to look at other fluoride options where we can work to honor both voices. I believe every single voice in this community is important, and I believe the health and well-being of every single community member is important. I also want to make sure that we're hearing the voices of the individuals in the community. We've had a lot of people speak on issues that pertain to DeForest and DeForest residents, and they don't even live here, right? So if we're going to revisit this option, if we're going to revisit fluoride, I would like us to take the time to really speak to everyone, you know, speak to the people who live here, because it's going to impact them. And lastly, I don't want anybody getting hurt, right? And listening to Greg say, and I could hear it in the voice of the people who are actually doing the work. I'm not boots on the ground. I will not be in any wells messing with any chemicals, right? I also want to take a step and listen to our employees, our staff. You know, how do you feel? Do you feel comfortable? What can we do to make sure that you coming to work, you want to come to work and you feel safe? I want to make sure that Judd's team feels safe working on things and putting things and dealing with things in our community, because at the end of the day, we may make the decisions, but we need to also consider the people who have boots on the ground who are doing the work. So I'm not opposed to anything. I just want to make sure that, one, we're listening to all people and considering all people's health and well-being and not forcing anything that doesn't want to be forced, right? We're protecting our workers and making sure that they're safe when they come to work. And we're exploring, to the best of our ability, all options available to all of our community members.
Thank you, Tashidra.
Can I
Right.
add a comment?
Sure.
Respectfully, Morgan Brook brought up the comment about an oral health coalition, and I think the board had the opportunity to provide information to the community after fluoridation was taken out about items that would, you know, I guess closing the gap, so to speak. And no action was taken on that. So just to counter what Tashidra's saying on the other essence about, you know, the board taking into consideration, you know, those who don't want fluoride, there was nothing done on the other opposite side. And so as we're moving forward, not only looking at costs, if we're looking at options that that Jim talked about, is that something that can be put in an oral health coalition, or can we provide, utilize experts to provide that information to the community for public health pros for those, you know, for fluoride and against? And I think an oral health coalition, you know, can encompass that need that wasn't there. So.
Can I just have a point of clarification? When did we decide, and I know the answer, but because this is Zoom, it's being recorded and everybody is listening, I want to make sure that we have all the same information. So can someone answer this question before I say my follow-up? When did we make the decision to remove fluoride from our water?
I believe it was February.
February of 2025, correct?
Yep.
Okay. The other question is, how many people do we have available to deal with, research, implement, and make changes? But also, they have to do the work and then bring it back to the board. The board doesn't make decisions unilaterally. We get our information from staff, right? They do the work because they're boots on the ground. And they bring that information to us, and then we collectively, all 7 of us, disseminate that information and make the best choice while listening to constituents and going out. So I really believe that the timeline isn't long enough for there to be any type of prudent decisions and things being put forth. Because the other thing that we need to do as trustees is make sure that we are fully educated and making educational decisions while giving our staff the time they need to do the work. Because the last thing we want to do is implement or do things that we're going to have to rescind and take away. So while I understand that it may appear that things aren't being done, I do hope that there is a level of grace and patience, because we're talking about really big things that impact the whole community. And I would hate to have knee-jerk reactions or, anything other than that. So I hope we can remember the timeline and remember that in that time from February until now, we've had a number of different significant community issues that have come up that has taken time away from the staff doing the things that they normally do on a day-to-day basis. I know Callie has been doing above and beyond, since this year started. So that's why I'm saying what I'm saying. I am not saying I am for or against fluoride. I'm saying we need to take a pause, right? Because this has been a highly charged conversation that has nearly tore our community apart, which it doesn't need to happen. And we need to understand that staff needs time to do the work. Like they don't just snap their fingers and things are done. So from February until now, that's not a long time to do the research, make sure that it's sound, make sure that it's not capricious, and that it's put forth in a methodical, well thought out plan, because this isn't just for today. The decisions that we make and the impact on what we do lasts far beyond a 2-year term. And it will impact the next generation and the next bunch of community members that are coming in. So I hope that we just keep that in mind as well.
Thank you. So that was a lot of words to Shidra. I think you're saying we should research it, but you don't want us to rush.
That is a good summation, Jane.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. With that, if there's, okay, one more comment, we're going to make a motion.
I just wanted to state something. I know some of the people that are currently on the board weren't here during, say, like around November or whatever time it was, but it was stated tonight that we rushed, and I wanted to make it clear that I did not think that when we were doing it all. We had multiple times, multiple public hearings. I want to say it was something like 4 different times. We had experts come in front of us from both sides. I personally was very proud of DeForest at that time, thinking that we were a model for others to follow. And it was a very close vote, but I think there was no rushing as far as the trustees gathered their knowledge and they all voted with their hearts. And there is obviously a number of people that don't agree with that, and we heard about them tonight. I will not, with what I learned during that process, I don't believe, and somebody might be able to correct me, I don't know if there's been any additional science or reports that have come out since then. I look forward to hearing about that, if there's any recent reports that have happened since the February. So I would look for that, or I'd ask for staff to have that information shared. But regardless of having any additional science, I don't see myself changing my.
Thank you. With that, I would entertain a motion. Oh, Bill, I'm sorry.
So before you make a motion, I just want to clarify and would propose that you're looking for some kind of report, which would include previously submitted material in regards to resources, in addition to any additional resources that have come out on the topic of fluoride in water. The report should include cost analysis of going back to what was previously and cost analysis of going to fluoride for the full system. The report should also include alternative methods, both for separate treatment of adding fluoride, and then also if there's any methods for the removal of fluoride from the water independently of the systematic. And then lastly here, talking about or providing a report on potential staff impacts of applying the chemical into the water. So it sounds like that's something that we can work on. From there, identification of what a potential timeline is, and I think we can get to the report before you eventually decide on what the next steps may be. Sounds like the board wants to have some type of public comment, but I don't think we need to decide that for the initial phase. That can be decided upon receiving that report and then digesting that report. So that's what I would recommend, whether it's staff, or I know there's been some discussion about staff time. But considering an amount of time to put the report together, I think the majority of this material we may already have. But as long as it's not the next meeting. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And we have experts in the community that want to help, so we should take advantage of them. Does everyone agree that's what should be looked at? And you stated it so nicely. So does anyone want to make a motion that approves that study?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Sure. Roll call, please.
Trustee Little,
Aye.
trustee Simpson,
Nay.
trustee Stefan Hagenhan.
Aye.
Trustee Williams,
Aye.
trustee Cords, President Cahill Wolfgram.
Aye. Tashidra?
I'm sorry to see you drive. I missed you. Trustee Allen,
I'm at the beginning of the alphabet, but anyways,
thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you. All right. We're going to move on. I thank everyone for their tolerance and patience. I continue to get emails with people's opinions on both topics, so I will forward those to Callie to have available for the board. Here we go on another topic, okay? I'm looking forward. Here we go. Item 9.3. Discussion and possible action regarding ordinance 2025-035 and ordinance amending section 16.012I and 16.012K and 16.021.5 of the DeForest Municipal Code relating to the sanctioned recreational programs. So that is an item that is going to be handled by Reese and Sam. Are you still with us?
I'm still here.
We're just glad she's been holding in there. So here we go. And I would open it up for them to make comments and then a motion regarding that ordinance.
Yeah, so as many of you know, this is a topic that we've been talking about for a number of years, and we presented before the Public Service Committee last month, because we're in November now. We're able to get, I think it was a great discussion. We did a presentation the next day here to part of the village board on the same items. And I think we really got to a good compromising point where we're still able to meet the needs of those single invitation teams, but also making sure that we're making some changes that include what we believe is the intent of how this program was started. It's working with those larger organizations that provide recreational opportunities for the most amount of youth for our community. And those were DeForest Area Youth Football, Windsor Heat, and Windsor DeForest Baseball. I know that we've gotten email support both or from Windsor Heat, Windsor DeForest Baseball, and I believe Corey is here. Finer is here to support DAFL, their support of these changes as well. And they actually brought it to my attention today that the village has been working with DAFL, DeForest Area Youth Football, for about 50 years. So I think it's something, again, that the changes that we're recommending here will accomplish those goals and I think meet the most youth for our community. So happy to answer any questions on it. We have another item, 9.5, that will cover some of the schedule preference stuff, which is more on our end of what we feel like is going to make us be able to do the most efficient scheduling and use for the facilities. But happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Everyone thought you just played all day.
Wish.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a
Second.
second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Nice job, Reese and Sam.
Thank you. All right, item 9.4. Discussion and possible action regarding ordinance 2025-036 and ordinance creating section 3.065C of the DeForest Municipal Code restricting parking of trailers on village streets. Chief Olson. Okay, there was a document in a memo in your packet, I believe.
Yeah, a brief memo. If there's questions, I can answer them.
All right. Why don't you give us a quick overview?
A high level overview. Basically, we're concerned that some of our village equipment not attached to vehicles is in violation of our own ordinance. So I talked to the Honorable Alan Reuter about how to amend the ordinance. He wisely said, let's take it out of a zoning issue and just make it a parking issue. Obviously, the PD does all the parking stuff, so it makes it more enforceable, takes anything away from zoning. There should really be no trailers on the street that aren't attached to cars and things like that. So it gives us a little bit more leeway to address those timely, especially as you see those throughout the community. So.
And it allows you to leave your traffic signs. It says you're going too fast, Jane, and I hate seeing my name on those signs.
Well, we can make your name bigger if we need to. But
thank you.
The speed trailers they're an important part of our strategy to try to make our roadways safer. So we just want to be able to leave our equipment where we need to.
All right, thank you. Other questions for Chief? If not, I'd entertain a motion. Jim, I'm sorry.
A question, or it can be brought up for a discussion, but what I wanted to talk about is there was a clause in there that said for public construction. I'm just a little bit concerned about that, where construction might be considered. Me, it should maybe be in like road closed areas. We don't want necessarily somebody, even though it's maybe road construction, they're parking blocks away and it may be impacting a resident because the trailer's in front of them or something. So
I would have to yield to, I think, Brandy, because that I would not advocate for that, but I think that was a separate discussion beyond where I was going with the ordinance. I'd have to ask Brandy for input.
I mean, I guess I just need to clarify, are you talking parking of private construction trailers on the streets?
in there, it said about trailers I'm looking, it applies to trailers being used in public construction or owned by the village. I think it shouldn't just straight say public construction, it'd say public construction and like closed roads or something like that. You see what I'm getting at, Judge, or?
Well, I think the idea behind it is sometimes we have to put road closed signs ahead and it's not in a construction zone, right? So if we leave that trailer unattended, we're in violation of the zoning or now in the ordinance if we don't say that. So I think that's the idea behind that is it's only us. So if it's public, it's the village doing that work. And I'll leave it to the esteemed Esquire Wordswaiter.
Public construction is construction that's being done either by the village or under contract with the village. So we can regulate where vehicles are parked by the construction crews that we've hired as a matter of contract. So we don't need to prohibit that by ordinance. So if you're concerned about the village doing its own construction and leaving a trailer in the wrong place, then you'd want to make that change. But otherwise, I think we can control that through control over the contractors that we hire and control over our own staff.
Thank you for that clarification. I'm good knowing the definition of public.
All right.
construction.
If there's any other questions, if not, I'd entertain,
I have one more. We still have the ability with a right-of-way permit to allow that to occur if a resident applies to this. Is that right?
Yeah, you can allow any kind of an obstruction with a right-of-way obstruction permit.
can we go now?
Yeah, we get those off, and I just wanted a clarification. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
You're all right.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Item 9.5, discussion and possible action regarding resolution 2025-100, a resolution establishing a revised scheduling preference policy for use of the DeForest Quick Trip Athletic Complex.
Us again. So this is, I know Dave came earlier and talked about, from Norski Thunder, and talked about their desire to still be considered a higher tier for scheduling. One of the reasons that we are advocating for those single teams to go down to the next level is to allow us to more efficiently schedule all of the facilities. So when we have some of those single teams, sometimes what ends up happening is that their specific usage makes it so that we cannot schedule around them at all. So it ends up taking up additional time slots where the intention is not to have it where they get bumped down a tier and they're not going to have any usage. You know, we work really hard with all of the groups that we schedule with to make sure everyone still has space. So they would still be able to get space. It may just not be that prime time that you know, everyone wants, or exactly always the date and time they want, but they would still have usage. So Sam goes through and we do scheduling meetings with the larger groups. We would do scheduling meetings with the smaller groups and make sure that everyone is able to get adequate time and spacing. So the proposal that we have out here would reflect what our preference would be and what we think would be the most efficient way for us to go forward with.
Okay, questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you again. Getting this all done before baby's here, so I appreciate it.
I think we gotta thank the 3 people in the room that stayed here to almost 9 too.
Good point.
Thank you for your patience, gentlemen. Good. All right, here we go. Item, 9.6, discussion and possible action regarding resolution 2025-101, authorizing the village administrator to execute consultant service agreements This is Bill and Al. And I would ask them if they would make quick comments. There was a memo in the packet? Yeah,
Yeah, included in the packet was a memo, the draft resolution, and then a copy of the reimbursement agreement that we generally hand out or require of developers who want to build within the Village of DeForest. So what we're asking here is for approval of the resolution authorizing the village administrator to execute consultant service agreements, and these are particularly in regard to outside consultant services for the benefit of the village that is often needed in projects where we require subject matter experts above and beyond what we have currently contracted or on staff, and or more capacity to handle or review that and conduct that due diligence of the project. As you'll note that as part of the resolution, we are requiring that this would only apply to those contracts that will be reimbursed by the applicant. And further that the administrator is only authorized to execute and approve the contracts after the village attorney has reviewed. Happy to answer any questions that you may have. Go from there.
and just, is it my understanding these costs are usually share or taken on by the developer?
Yeah, so generally how this works is once a developer approaches the village, we require them by ordinance that they sign a reimbursement agreement with the village. As stated, we provide examples of what fees may be covered. It states explicitly on that development agreement or the reimbursement agreement that it can be utilized for consultants, subject matter experts, any consulting firm that is necessary to do the due diligence and research the project as needed. So we require that they sign off on that before we enter into any contracts with consultants. So yes.
Thank you. With that, there's no,
Just to be clear, the way the resolution is written, Bill's authority to hire a consultant would be contingent on it being reimbursed by the developer. So his authority would only apply if it's reimbursed.
thank you, Al. Thank you for clarifying. All right, with that, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Yes, Jim.
I guess, Bill, I just want to caution or ask you, the way this is written, it says the village administrator. I'm just wondering if we want to write in it as the village administrator or his assigned or their assigned. I'm just concerned that how long this resolution may be in place, and as we continue to grow, I could see there be reasons that you might say assign a director to work with whoever.
I think if that was the situation, we'd come back to try to amend the resolution at that time. We feel comfortable with how it's worded right now.
Okay, good point. Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. There's no other questions. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. 9.7. Discussion and possible action regarding resolution 2025-102, a resolution authorizing the Forest Police Department to participate in multi-jurisdictional impaired driving task force for the 2026 grant year and authorizing the chief of police to execute an agreement for participation.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Questions for the chief? Yes, Jim.
So what I noticed this year that I noticed as being, to me, starkly different than past years, it doesn't mention speed in, say, the items covered under 9.7 and 9.8.
There's three grants. There's a speed OWI and a seatbelt.
Right, but in the past, when it was stated as, say, seatbelt, they also mentioned speed as a non-negotiable thing. I forget the term that they used. But this time, when it talks about seat belts, it only mentions OWI, and OWI only mentions seat belts. Neither of those mention speed. So I'm a bit curious why the change, and is that going to be a change in, say, how it's enforced? Because I know that was my main concern about, say, enforcing the speed of Highway 51 is mainly what I'm concerned about.
You know, enforcement is enforcement. We always try to gain voluntary compliance. So whether the stop is for speed or for failure to wear a seatbelt or failure disregarding official sign or signal, whatever the case might be, it's the grants are to address certain behaviors, whether it's OWI speed or not wearing your seatbelt. So they may have taken some of the language out directing like, you know, zero tolerance on speed, zero tolerance on this. We still have discretion in cases. So, you know, staff, again, for some of the new trustees, while it generally will highlight certain areas of enforcement to happen, we have control of our workforce and we can and do push officers into village streets to make sure our local streets are patrolled. These grants give us the ability to have an extra body on patrol that we're not paying for. State reimburses us for our time and effort.
Okay, thank you for that. And that is, I think the term you used was a zero discretion, and that was the thing that I was opposed to in the previous agreements, and I don't see that.
Speed side, correct, yeah.
So
if it's a OWI, I mean, OWI, we don't let OWI drivers go. It's kind of one of those things. Seat belts is one of those now. It's a primary stop, so we will address that as well.
Yep.
Do I have a motion? Okay,
Yep.
we've got that. All right, with that, if there's no other comments, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, item 9.8, discussion and possible action regarding resolution 2025-103. A resolution authorizing the DeForest Police Department to participate in multi-jurisdictional seatbelt enforcement task force in the 2026 grant year and authorizing the chief of police to execute an agreement for participation.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item 9.9. Discussion and possible action regarding resolution 2025-104, a resolution authorizing the DeForest Police Department to participate in multi-jurisdictional speed limit enforcement task force for the 2026 grant year and authorizing the chief of police to execute an agreement for participation.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
A motion and a second?
Question?
Sure, okay.
So this one is talking about speed, and again, my main concern is the speed on 51, being that the speed limit is 55 when the road was designed for 70 miles per hour. And why bring this up now, even though it is this? There has been some change in some federal guidance lately that they no longer have to look at the 85 percentile speed to set speed limits, and instead they can look at the geometry. So I think now would be a real good time to ask for a speed study of 51. And I've know 51 has gone through some changes with, say, traffic signals being added and different things too. So I would respectfully add that we ask for a speed study from WSDOT. And I mean, I don't know necessarily if it's going to change, but I think it's a good time to request that. And
I don't believe that's on the agenda.
I believe the speed enforcement is on the agenda.
Speed enforcement is, but a study is not. Maybe I'm off base here, but
No, you're right.
it seems like
You're
a
right.
separate issue. Speed limit right now is 55.
I would request that the speed study be added as a condition of the approval of this resolution.
Well, I think if we're gonna do that, we need to put it on the agenda at a later time. Where are we, Al?
Make a motion to amend the resolution to include that as a condition if you want.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to do.
All right, he made a motion to add that to the item 9.9. Is there a second? Being no second, it fails, and we will move on with the regular item on the agenda. We have an agenda item. I think we've gone through the questions. So is there a motion?
I think we have it.
Thank you. It takes a village, as you know. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. All right, here we go. 9.10. This is an important last item with a closed session possible. So discussion and possible action regarding the acquisition of public land for parkland and public service facilities. The village board may convene into closed session as authorized by Wisconsin statute 19.851E for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. The village board may reconvene in open session and take action on the subject matter discussed in closed session. Mr. Chang?
Yeah, so as stated in the memo in your packet, the property at 6889 and 6897 Northtown Road in DeForest, Wisconsin is currently on the market. It is a farm of 40 acres. And so that is that's the address within the village itself. So the reason why it's being brought up here is oftentimes when properties come for sale in the village of DeForest, it is often purchased quite quickly for development. The reason I believe that this property is still for sale or on the market is that there is where it's located currently within the village, it's at the very edge of the village. And so getting water and getting sewer to it is challenging and costly because our utilities have not extended that far yet. And so it is an opportunity for the village to consider. It is attractive in two ways here for the village. First and foremost, it's relatively flat and doesn't necessarily have a lot of environmental impact. I believe there may be a drainage running through it, but primarily has been farmed. So that's important because again, it's flat land, farmland is usually put into development right away. Second reason why it's attractive is that we are currently in the process of planning for a new public facilities building, public services facility. Currently, the site for that is on Shanku, right next to our current facilities. That would require that our public services department be at the very edge of the community. And as you know, the village is also growing on the south side and then to the west. And so would take a long time for our public works to get to service the other parts of the village. This location here is more centralized, and so it provides for quicker access to get to other areas. If your discussion this evening is covering or discussion on parkland or discussion on the public service facility, that general discussion needs to be had in open session. If the village board decides that we need to talk about potentially making an offer and what the terms of that offer will be, I'd recommend that you move into closed session and negotiate those terms.
Thank you, Bill. Are there any questions about the piece of land or what we're up to? And my understanding is right now it's not being farmed. Okay, it is. All right.
So there are crops and on that property and it is harvested, but it's being farmed.
Okay. All right. With that, are there other questions?
I'll start. Okay, so is this, did I see somewhere, or is it 44 acres? What's the size?
It's approximately 40 acres.
40 acres. Okay, so if we were to acquire this land, we would be looking at it to put a park and a public facility on it, or one or the other?
It would be likely be both, depending on where the funding comes from and what the objective of the village board is.
And then if we were to sell the Shanto Way, the 5 acre, is that 5 acres?
Shanku Way, the property on there would, the parcel that's vacant right now is approximately 5 acres. There's a small piece that's next to it, that currently does not have buildings on there, but it's part of a different parcel.
Okay, so if we were to sell that land, because you're saying we wouldn't necessarily need that anymore, because we would get this instead for,
Yeah, so that's a decision for the board to make.
right?
At that point, it would make sense that land within a industrial district or industrial park be sold for industrial development.
And if we were to sell that land, that portion, approximately how much would that be? I'm clueless. I mean, is this where it would be? Yeah.
So, depending on, what you want to do, the board can set the price for that. Generally, I can tell you in the forest, industrial land, say on or by Cake Parkway, is going for about $4.50 per square foot. Land down by Hooper is going anywhere between $6 per square foot to $13 per square foot.
Okay, Bill, that's too much for me to figure out. Okay, tell me, is this like about, are we gonna sell it for like $2 million, 5 million, 10 million? Just give a ballpark.
Yeah, I would think anywhere between 1 to 1.5 million.
Okay, and the land we're looking at is 2.1 million.
Yeah, I just want to caution, so the land that is in the industrial park currently is in tax increment district 9, tax increment district number 6. There was tax increment dollars utilized to purchase and acquire all the land in TID 6. And so any proceeds coming from the sale of that would be required to remain in TID 6.
So, and how soon are we looking to build this public works facility?
So we are in the very beginning stages. The University Alliance students are working on potentially programming for the facility and how the footprint of that facility is going to look like. So they're at the very beginning stage. The idea would be then to move to a consultant to bring that to drawings, just like what we're doing with the fire station over the next year and a half. I would then imagine that at that point, we would have that discussion of how do we start to finance a facility like this and the impacts to taxpayers, et cetera. We want to financially time it with when our other tax increment districts come off or end, and so that we don't have a drastic impact on our taxpayers.
So can you give me a rough ballpark, like 2028? We might start building something like this?
Yeah, it would be that
after that
28-29 timeframe.
Okay, I mean, because I'm concerned when you said the sewer, it's out there on the very edge of the deforest, right? This gonna cost a lot then to get the sewer out there?
Yeah, it would. There's some opportunities in between. I know that we're working on Vinburn in between now and would be 2029, 2030. That doesn't get it down Morristown Road. The other option potentially is there's holding tanks out there. There's a well out there. Is to not utilize it until we're able, or not to extend water and sewer. Unless it's already there. So there's a couple different options that I think we can explore. I think that the board should consider, I mean, what the urgency is in regards to reserving property within the village of DeForest that's viable for not only parks, not only the public service facility, but parks also. I think it should be known that on the property itself now, there are 2 houses and a barn and other facilities, which we are would be able to utilize in the time being. So for example, I know that we are short storage space. I get asked every day by Reese to convert room in the village hall for storage of park equipment. There's a house too. I mean, there's yeah, I mean, we if the village moved on that property, we would make improvements, short-term improvements to be able to secure it.
And I also know parks are developed with park impact fees generally. So
Yeah, so we do collect parkland dedication fees in lieu for the acquisition of parkland. And then we also collect facility improvement fees. And those are derived off of residential development that cannot deed or dedicate the parks within their neighborhoods. Most of the multifamily will pay fee in lieu instead of building a park. Those do have, I believe, 7-year expiration date from when we collect them.
okay. I guess the next. Oh, I'm sorry, Jim.
Oh, no apologies. I just raised my hand. One of my concerns is like looking at the comp plan. I don't say there wasn't a clear vision of a park in this location. I mean, I think it could be included as far as like a neighborhood type park or something, but why I bring it up is I feel we have a shortage of single family lots. And I think this area, correct me if I'm wrong, that was designated for single family or a neighborhood or something. But if we acquire it with the parks in lieu of fees, is there a way that we can then sell it and use those fees somewhere else? Or if we acquire it in parks, I see Al nodding his head, it is then locked into being a park.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be designated as park in order to use those fees for the purchase.
Okay.
I was gonna ask Bill, is that it had to be rezoned, I imagine?
Yeah, so Alex probably answer this one better than I can.
Yes, it would probably need to be rezoned. It is to what you were talking about, Jim. The future land use is low density residential, and we've had a lot of folks kicking tires about the prospect of single family rentals in that property in particular, since it's been listed, which would be ineligible, I guess, development under that designation. The barrier to that whole area in terms of that developing further as single family has just been the infrastructure, right? So when I hear, I don't know what the thought would be to get infrastructure down there for a public facilities building, but certainly if there was an extension of some of that, it may unlock, quote unquote, some of the single family development to the north of there, which just has kind of been stagnating.
A follow-up question to that. Are you done? Okay, is we have a lot of land available in Heritage Gardens area, in Elaine Erickson's land, which sits undeveloped. And could that not be done in that area?
Could it, what do you mean? Could it be?
Single family rentals?
Yeah. In Heritage Gardens, no, that's slated for just single family development predominantly in the I guess that'd be the eastern section. There is a piece that would be more of a multifamily, but
Or are you talking about multifamily?
no, so the property that people have been inquiring about single family rentals is farther south, not in Heritage Gardens PUD.
Okay,
I don't think we have a restriction on whether single family homes are rentals or owned. So to your question, Jane, in Heritage Gardens, if they were single family homes, they would meet the requirement for the land use. I don't, again, we don't have control of whether or not those are rentals or those are owned.
okay,
I guess my point in communicating that was that folks have been exploring development there, just there's no utilities there. That's been the barrier. Regardless of
okay,
the.
that's an important point. All right, I do like the idea of the public services building there. It's much more central with access to Bear Tree, Savannah Brooks, you know, all of the corners of the community that are not that way. So I think it's a good idea to get that land and have control over it. There aren't too many other pieces of land that I can think of, but I'm not always in the know, that are gonna be available. So do you want us to make a motion about going into closed, or do you want us?
Yeah, it sounds like the conversation is leading.
Well, there's two ways you can do it. You can go into closed session and give Bill authority to negotiate a certain price, or you can just let him negotiate the deal and bring it back. It would be contingent on your approval down the road. So the question is whether you want to discuss those terms in closed session and give him parameters within which to work.
Any strong feelings about that? Yes, Jim?
I'd say I don't have strong feelings. I would probably leave it up to Bill, but the questions I have is how much money we have in the fee in lieu of funds versus what is the current asking price for this property.
So I don't know.
I guess I should clarify the reason for me asking, as long as, say, the parks in lieu of fee is over and above what the price of the land would be, I don't see any reason to go into closed.
So it would have to come from two different sources. The funding would have to come from two different sources. If we're spending fee in lieu of dollars on all the property, then all the property would have to be reserved for parkland. So our special revenue fund balance for parkland education fee in lieu of is 1.3 million.
Okay. And then the possible sale of the other piece of land could be added to that if we.
No, that needs to stay in TID 6.
Okay, got it.
So we would have to come up with a funding source for the remainder of that cost, depending on how we would negotiate that from either debt service or fund balance in our Fund 400.
And you're comfortable with that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, as long as, as long as the board sees this as a valuable transaction. Again, what's going to end up happening if you move in that direction is, although the sale and the development in the property in TID 6 doesn't come back to the general fund for that service payment, it helps for TID 6 to end earlier. And so eventually it's a roundabout way that provides revenue sources back to the village or the different taxing jurisdictions.
Okay, everybody got that? So do we want to make a motion giving Bill the authority to negotiate and then come back to us?
I'll make that motion if we're looking for a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or fear? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you. I don't think we have to go to close then. All right, with that, we'll go to item 10, check register. Is in your packet. Item 11, committee, commission, and board reports. Where'd they go? I don't have a page. I'll steal this agenda. I probably gave it back with the. There it is. I'm sorry. And it just notes that there's a public services committee minutes in your packet. Item 12, any other business to lawfully come before this board? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned at 9:21 PM. And I asked Dr. Allen to tell her daughter happy birthday.
Thank you, I will. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.